Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Naruto. Starting from the annihilation of the clan, Hinata became a rebel ninja. Chapter 1, Konoha 58, Ninja School. The winner is Hinata Neji. With the school teacher's whistle, the duel came to an end. Hinata Ling fell to the ground clutching his chest, looking at Neji with eyes full of anger and disbelief. As a member of the Hyuga clan and 2 years older than Neji, Hyuga Ling originally thought that this was just a simple training match. Before the duel, he even put on the airs of the clan and promised to give Neji a good guide and make him take it seriously. Study. As a result, he actually lost to this boy from the branch family in public. The one being guided turned out to be him, Hyuga Ling. Sorry, Master Ling. Neji wanted to pull Hinata Ling up, but his outstretched hand was thrown away by the other party. Stop doing this. You're just a member of the Hinata family. Where did you learn the taijutsu you just defeated me with? Why has no one ever taught me in my clan? Hinata Ling has never seen such taijutsu. It clearly has the shadow of the Hyuga family's Ru fist, but it is different from the soft outside and hard inside of the Ru fist. Instead, chakra is released through the holes to form lion-like teeth, which are hard and fierce. Was so fierce that when his fists met, Ri Shangling felt that his hand was going to be broken. He felt that was the only reason Neji could win. Seeing that Hyuga Ling was so angry that he no longer behaved like a brother of the same clan, Neji also put away the smile that he showed specially to show friendship. Since his father Hazashi was forced to commit suicide, he had no good impressions of any members of the clan. He said flatly, "That's Ru Fist Lion Fang which my brother Ningqi taught me." Ningqi, that Hyuga Ningqi, one of Konoha's two prides, is your brother. Hinata Ling frowned. Konoha's twins are the names given to Konoha's two current geniuses. That is, Hyuga Ningqi from the Hyuga clan, and Uchiha Itachi from the Uchiha clan. Ningqi and Itachi were born in the same year, graduated from the ninja school in the same year, and even passed the Chunin exam in the same year. They are regarded as the glory of their respective families and represent the competition between the younger generations of the Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan in Konoha. From the moment they entered the ninja school, the only enemies between them were each other. While others were still practicing clone techniques and worrying about graduation, these two people had already graduated from the ninja school early because they had mastered advanced ninjutsu. After graduation, other peers can only look back. Due to their talents and special backgrounds, every confrontation between them will be given extra meaning and attract the attention of many people. The so-called Shuangjiao of Konoha was the evaluation made by the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen after witnessing their wonderful performance in the Chunin examination hall. From then on, this reputation spread in Konoha. Yes, when talking about Ningqi, Nechi raised his head slightly, feeling a little proud. Ningqi's rise may not be the pride of the Hyuga clan, but it must be the pride of their Hyuga branch. Ningqi's dream is to become an outstanding ninja like his brother Ningqi. In his opinion, as long as the two brothers who were born in a separate family are outstanding, it will prove the failure of the caged bird system of the Hyuga clan, and the more it will prove that the Hyuga clan has lost its sense of crisis and is the one in the cage who does not want to make progress. Bird. It turns out that Ningqi is from the Hinata branch. The teachers from the surrounding ninja schools whispered, showing surprise. Ningqi, one of the two prides of Konoha, is naturally known to everyone in Konoha, but precisely because of his superb strength and huge reputation, many people naturally think that Ningqi is from the Hyuga clan and has received the resources of the Hyuga clan. A new generation of leaders who lean and focus on care. Rixiang Ling's face was ugly. Compared to outsiders, he naturally knew Ningqi's family background better. Therefore, he had never felt proud of Ningqi's outstanding performance. Like all members of the Hyuga clan, they felt a huge humiliation. The two prides of Konoha, the leader of the new generation of the Hyuga clan. Are these humble branch family members qualified to bear these honors? Even the members of the clan had extremely malicious speculations about the rumored originator of the two prides of Konoha, the three great fire shadows, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hiruzen Sarutobi and Danzo Shimura, two old men, both overt and covert, have always been the staunch leaders of the policy of cutting down the vassal clan. They are afraid that the interests of the Konoha clan may affect the operation of the entire village, whether it is relocating the Uchiha clan from their clan to the edge of Konoha village, promoting more civilian ninjas to important positions in the ninja village, or restricting the children of the rich clan from becoming apprentices to the legendary Sannin and other key Hokage candidates. Senior Yi's policy on limiting the influence of wealthy families has never changed. Similarly, the rise of Ningqi is another attempt by the Hyuga clan to attack the Hyuga clan as a careerist who holds a high position in Konoha. The patriarch of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hatsuzu, even expressed his dissatisfaction with Hiruzen Sarutobi at an internal family meeting. He felt that Sarutobi's designation of Hyuga Ninki as one of the double pride was an interference in the internal affairs of the Hyuga clan and was a deliberate act to drive a wedge between their clan and branch families. So this set of physical skills was created by Ningqi. Seeing Neji nod, Hinata Ling's ugly expression slowly returned to normal, and the corners of his mouth even curved slightly. Neji was a little confused about this. The two cast the seal of reconciliation. Next is Xiao Li versus Tian Tian. After school in the afternoon, Neji was surrounded by a group of people on his way home, and was then taken to a remote forest road. Master Ling, what do you want to do? Neji frowned and looked at Hyuga Ling in front of him. The other 5 followers of the Hyuga branch brought by him had quietly blocked Nechi's escape routes around him. What are you doing? I was suddenly attacked by you at the ninja school, so I lost. This time, I want to have a serious fight with you. Hinata Ling explained calmly. I see. Neji glanced at the other 5 people beside him and clenched his fists. These minions. There's no need for them to take action. Hinata Ling smiled and waved his hand. You guys stay away. So there was a space in the middle that was enough for the 2 of them to fight. Come on. Hinata Ling hooked his fingers. Nechi was startled, and suddenly felt a good impression of Hinata Ling in his heart. Although he came with people, he did not use his power to bully others. It's just because it doesn't matter if you don't admit defeat. Neji doesn't think the opponent can win if he tries again. Soft fist lion teeth. Chakra gathered into 2 blue fangs. Neji took a good posture, and then rushed straight towards Hinata Ling like a hunting lion. Facing the trick that defeated him before, Hinata Ling was not only not afraid, but the expression on his face gradually changed into a sneer. He raised his hand high and then suddenly put it down. The next second, Neji suddenly screamed and fell to the ground. His forehead lit up with blue lines that even the turban could not hide, which were the marks of a caged bird. The lines were spreading, from his forehead, to his cheeks, to his eyeballs, and finally penetrated into his entire brain. Neji's eyes were dark, and his expression was ferocious. He could only feel the pain of a steel knife cutting the flesh on his face inch by inch. The itching was so unbearable that he even wanted to dig out his entire eyeball. Several members of the branch family around looked at this scene with calm expressions. Hinata Ling stepped on Neji's head, smiling frivolously as if he were stepping on a mouse. The caged bird is a curse that has been passed down by our Hyuga clan for thousands of years. It can not only automatically destroy the brain and eyeballs of the subject after death, but can also be activated through secret commands to achieve the effect of punishment. Hyuga Neji, listen carefully. My Hinata is different from your Hinata. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you have a brother who is one of your 2 prides. For a ninja, the most important thing is reincarnation. As long as I get the secret order, even if your brother Ningqi is in front of me, he will still kneel down. Neji limped back home. It felt like sulfur had been poured into my eyes, and it was burning and painful, but fortunately I could see. He locked the door, took off his ripped pants, cleaned the blood stains on his body, and put on clothes that were wide enough to cover the wound. Then he came to the mirror and turned around, feeling that it could almost cover it up. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. His eyes shifted to the cyan curse mark on his forehead that had returned to normal, and Neji couldn't help but clenched his fists. Nails dug into flesh. Ask your brother to send that set of physical skills to the family secret treasury. Otherwise, you will continue to be tortured tomorrow. Hinata Ling's warning before leaving was like a needle pricking into Neji's heart, echoing throughout the body as the blood circulated. That's my brother's own physical skill, I will never teach it to you. However, when he thought of the pain when the curse seal broke out just now, Neji suddenly felt helpless in his heart, and the sharp pain-like lateness was still faintly felt between his eyebrows until now. This is the second time Ninki has experienced this feeling. The first time the curse seal occurred was when his father Hazashi committed suicide 4 years ago. After learning the truth, he immediately wanted to find Hinata Hazashi to fight for his life, but he hadn't seen him yet. The patriarch, the elder of the clan, made him realize what the price of clashing with the elders means. They have no chance against the power of the caged bird. My father is like this, my brother is like this, and he is like this too. It was like this before, and it is like this now. This will remain the case for the foreseeable future. Their children and grandchildren will also be branded with this slave mark. Once they resist, they can only be like Ninji himself just now. After the curse took effect, he knelt on the ground like a slave, letting Hyuga Ling laugh and ridicule without any resistance. The possibility of dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. It was probably his brother Ningchi who was back. The fist gradually loosened, and Neji's anger and hatred could only turn into a weak sigh. While wrapping the scar on his palm with a bandage, he lowered his head and looked at himself in the mirror for the second time, and then squeezed out a sigh. He opened the door with a smile on his face. The door was opened, and it was not his brother Ningchi, but a white-haired Anbu. Is Hinata Ningchi back? The other party glanced at home. Isn't my brother on a mission in Anbu? Do you still know if he's back? Neji suppressed the doubts in his heart, but still said, not yet, he's been coming back late lately. What is your relationship with Ningchi? My name is Ningji, and I am Ningchi's younger brother. Do you know Hinata Tokuma? Do not know. What about Hinata Yu? It's a sister from a separate family who lives in the bakery in front. Ninki said. He also knew that Hinata Yu liked his brother Ningchi very much. As Ningchi's younger brother, he often got bread from him. Then when was the last time you saw Hinata Yu? Last seen. Neji suddenly hesitated. He carefully recalled the question he had just asked. Why did he feel like he was investigating a suspect? My brother, what happened? He asked cautiously. It's just some routine investigation. Don't worry, the Anbu said casually, but the eyes behind the mask were fixed on Neji. If you believe that your brother has not done anything bad, then the more accurate you are, the sooner your brother will be cleared. Neji did not notice the solemn look on the Anbu in front of him, but quickly stated that he would seriously cooperate with the investigation. So when was the last time you saw Hinata? It was about noon 2 days ago. What's wrong with Sister Yu? After Neji finished speaking, he suddenly found that the hand of the Anbu in front of him who was writing a note suddenly froze. How long did you say you saw it? The other person's breathing was obviously a little rapid. This made Neji less confident. He hesitated for a while, and then said truthfully, 2 days ago, in the dense forest to the east, I saw her planting trees. Wait a minute, what did you see her doing over there? Anbu asked quickly. Plant trees, they should be fruit trees or something. After all, the dense forest over there is considered the public property of our Hyuga clan. Neji said intermittently, not understanding what was strange about this. Anbu held the pen and said nothing for a long time. Ri Xiangyu's body was found in the eastern dense forest, and the autopsy report of the intelligence department directly proved that Ri Xiangyu was beheaded and died by a mysterious killer in the eastern dense forest a week ago. How could he still be in that dense forest 2 days ago? Plant a tree. The kid in front of me is lying. Or was it who he saw 2 days ago? The Anbu then mentioned a few more names, and Neji answered truthfully, and there was nothing unusual about them on the surface. He nodded slightly and asked another crucial question. Then do you know what your brother is busy with recently? I don't know, Neji shook his head. Then let me put it another way, do you think your brother has done anything strange recently? Is there anything strange about it? Neji thought for a long time this time before slowly speaking. His eyesight was not very good a few days ago. It seemed that he was injured and his vision was severely reduced. He has been staying at the Hyuga clan for treatment. He only officially returned to the team yesterday. I don't know if this is strange. What Ningqi said was true, but he played a trick on this question, because Ningqi's white eyes were injured and his strength would be greatly reduced. How could Ningqi do something illegal in this state? Obviously you have misunderstood. The Anbu silently wrote down the answers. In addition to the serious discrepancies between the records about Hinata Yu and the actual situation, whether the remaining answers were abnormal still required returning to the Anbu for data comparison. Thank you for your cooperation. What are you doing? A voice suddenly sounded, and Anbu felt himself being enveloped by a shadow, and his heart suddenly accelerated. He put one hand into his waist pocket, turned around very naturally, and said to the young man who had blocked him behind him at some point. Captain Ning-chi, I am Takizawa Yamaki. I was assigned by the Hokage to investigate the disappearance of Hyuga Tokuma and others. Ning-chi is very young, but Shanming is very aware of the danger of the other party. This is an existence that can compete with the squad leader Uchiha Itachi and is called the Two Prides of Konoha. He is a genius who will soon be nominated as a Jonin. Takazawayama clearly understood the gap between himself and his opponent. Although he was a few years older, he couldn't make a move against Itachi Uchiha. The same result would probably be the same against Ning-chi, who had the same name as Itachi. Ning-chi was silent, but those cold eyes gave Takizawa Shanming a great sense of oppression. Shanming quietly held the kunai in his waist pocket. So, are you done with the investigation? Ning-chi suddenly spoke, announcing the end of the brief confrontation. Takizawa Yamaki breathed a sigh of relief and nodded quickly. Yes, the investigation is over. No, Ning-chi got out of the way. Shanming quickly left the house. That made him panic. Why do those eyes feel different from other Byakugan? Not sure if it was an illusion, but Shanming felt that Ning-chi's eyes were covered with a layer of gray fog, making it difficult to see clearly. It didn't look like he was injured at all. The eastern jungle, he murmured. In any case, the investigation has made a breakthrough. Assuming that what Neji said is true, then there must be witnesses who saw Hinata, who was still planting trees on the third day after his death. After tying the collected information to the pigeon's leg and watching it fly to the Hokage building, Takizawa Yamaki immediately decided to take a look around the dense forest in the eastern part of Konoha village where Hinata-Yu's body was found. The Hyuga clan does not take the lives of branch clan members such as Hyuga Tokuma seriously, but their colleagues in the Konoha Anbu cannot ignore them. Is someone playing tricks, or is this brat Nechi simply lying? As long as he goes to the eastern jungle, everything will come to light. What happened? Fortunately, it's just a routine visit and investigation. Ning-chi passed Ning-ji and walked directly into the kitchen. Is someone missing again? Isn't sister you also? Ning-ki hesitated. He is very smart, and he has already figured out a lot of things from Takizawa Yamaki's questions just now. Every once in a while, someone from the Hyuga branch family will mysteriously disappear or be killed. This is not frequent, but with the increase in the number of disappearances every 6 months, many members of the branch family have actually vaguely reacted. They asked the clan leader for help, but there was no response. After receiving the desired response, they asked the Hokage for help. Sarutobi also sent people to investigate, but there were still no clues. The number of missing people is still increasing, and now it has actually spread to people close to Neji. Do you like her very much? Ning-chi lit up the fire and glanced at Ning-ji in surprise. She's always been very kind to us, and she also likes you very much, brother. Neji secretly observed his brother's expression. Why doesn't my brother seem sad at all? Is this the psychological quality of a ninja? Ning-ji, listen up, Ning-chi said with an indifferent expression. While preparing the ingredients for dinner, he began to preach. It doesn't mean that ninjas must be ruthless, but compared to ordinary people, the biggest difference in ninjas' mentality lies in the word tolerance. Be patient in order to achieve your goals, and be patient in order to achieve your plans. In order not to show weakness to the enemy, Ning-chi was cutting potatoes, but turned to stare at Neji and stressed, we must endure the grief. Neji looked around. There were only himself and his brother in the room. There were no so-called enemies. So what was the point of enduring grief? Oni-chan, you love preaching so much lately. Nechi did not refute. He just held his chin in his hands and complained, but his sad mood was inexplicably relieved. I know you can't listen, but I'm not telling you now. Ning-chi said casually, putting the potatoes in the pot, but looking somewhere outside the window. It was an erected wire pole, and a crow was standing on it, tilting its head and looking at him quietly. It's really confusing. In front of Byakugan, there is no way to avoid being discovered. The crow obviously knew this. After waiting for a while, it flapped its wings and flew away. What are you doing wearing such big clothes? Ning-chi came back to his senses, and when the potatoes were out of the pot, he looked at Ninki and asked suddenly. Seeing Ninki looking a little overwhelmed, Ningqi smiled slightly. A fight. Neji was stunned for a moment, then nodded immediately. His brother was very smart and his lies could easily be seen through. It would be better for him to actively misunderstand that his injuries were just because of an ordinary fight. Ningqi is Nechi's only relative. He is Nechi's pride, the glory of the Hyuga branch, and one of the two prides of Konoha. Neji did not intend to tell Ningqi what happened today. Although Ningqi was very strong, he was also a member of the branch family. He was also planted with the cursed caged bird. If Neji saw Ningqi because of his own reasons, the curse seal that was also activated restricted him from kneeling in front of Hyuga Ling and being humiliated indiscriminately. Neji felt that he would feel guilty to death. What's the big deal if you lose? Just fight back next time. Ningqi's nonchalant look made Neji slightly relieved. I will definitely come back with revenge, Neji said seriously, clenching his fists. Although he doesn't have any idea how to counter the caged bird, maybe he should really endure it for a while. Very good, let's go practice first. I'll call you when the meal is ready. Ningqi waved his hand and looked at Ningqi's retreating back, his eyes gradually becoming darker. Neji's lies were full of loopholes. The taijutsu and lion teeth he taught him were enough to defeat the entire ninja school. How could he lose in a fight with his peers? Moreover, the residue after the cage bird curse seal was activated was too obvious. Those eyes that sometimes turned red and sometimes twitched could not escape Ningqi's attention. As a genius who emerged from the Hyuga clan, Ningqi has also experienced being humiliated by the psychologically unbalanced Hyuga clan members with curse seals. Of course, those who had offended him in the past have now gradually become underground. The corpses and eyes became the nourishment for Ningqi's white eyes promotion. I have completely adapted to the third stage of the Byakugan, and now I can start preparing for the final stage of promotion. Ningqi looked at the birds outside the window with a dull expression. The evolutionary nourishment his Byakugan needs next cannot be provided by one or two pairs of Byakugan. The recent actions have obviously aroused the vigilance of Konoha's senior officials and some people. There are many smart people in this world, and they have begun to focus their suspicion on themselves. This is the impact of Ningqi's previous impetuous actions. But Ningqi didn't care very much. If it weren't for the fact that his eyes took time to adapt to each stage of promotion, and there was a very painful window period, otherwise he would never have been discovered by others. The Anbu named Takizawa Yamaki today was obviously the one who found Hinata Yu based on clues after his body was exposed. Fortunately, the only things that could be called omissions during this period were Hinata Yu's body and Takizawa Yamaki, who ran into the house for a surprise inspection while he was away. It's not too tricky. Destiny was about to reach its final moment, and Ningqi's heart became calmer and calmer. He looked at the rising mist in the pot, but his memory returned to that night 4 years ago. His father, Hinata Hazashi, committed suicide at home. He was the first to open the door and go in. However, his father's white eyes, which should have been destroyed by the caged bird, turned into a quintessence and flew into his own eyes. That was the first time Ningqi's Byakugan evolved, and he was blind for 2 days. People in the clan thought Ningqi was crying because his father died. Even the clan leader Hinata Hazu came to comfort him. But only Ningqi himself knew that he was far from filial. Hinata and Hazashi would die. He knew the plot as soon as he traveled through time. When the incident happened, he was just sad that he had lost his asylum after all, but this level of he couldn't even squeeze out a single tear from his sadness. And when her father's Byakugan turned into essence and flew into her eyes, after realizing that her eyes were special enough to absorb the Byakugan of her own race and evolve, Ningqi couldn't even control herself from laughing at Hazashi's funeral. Father, if not your death, how long will it take for me to realize that I was born to kill you? It was precisely because of the death of his father Hinata Hazashi that Ningqi's gloomy life, which could only be restrained by a caged bird, suddenly seemed to be shaken a little bit, and a beam of bright light shone in from the gap in the door, making Ningqi I saw clearly that I actually still had such a path to choose. The door was locked. The key requires the blood of all the same people to forge it. The strongest spear protecting the Hyuga clan has been targeting the Hyuga clan since then. In the original work, there are 2 routes for the Byakugan to evolve into the Tenseigan. One is the combination of chakra and Byakugan of the Otsutsuki clan, and the other is the giant Tensegan formed by the fusion of a large number of Byakugan. Nowadays, Ning-Chi's way of promotion by Byakugan is very similar to the promotion route of the second type of reincarnation in the literal description. Both are promoted by hunting the Byakugan of the tribe. But Ning-Chi can be sure that his situation is very special. His Byakugan and reincarnation eyes have nothing to do with it. Collected essence, 1.4%. Ning-Chi seemed to have floaters. This line of small words started from when he absorbed the essence of his father's white eyes. It was like being imprinted on his retina. No matter where Ning-Chi looked, it would always hover in Ning-Chi's field of vision. Directly above, Ning-Chi is reminded all the time. Hurry and collect the Byakugan essence. Go and collect the Byakugan essence. If you want to become stronger, go and collect Byakugan essence. According to Ning-Chi's research, the absorbed Byakugan essence is essentially improving the purity of one's Byakugan. When the purity of Ning-Chi's Byakugan is increased to a certain level, that is, the essence collected reaches 100%, Ning-Chi's Byakugan will evolve and awaken new abilities. For the Hyuga clan, the purity of the Byakugan is basically determined from birth. It can certainly be improved through practice or frequent use, but the speed is too slow. According to Ning-Chi's previous practice speed, it is just a matter of time. The essence grows by 4% every year, and it will take Ning-Chi 20 years to upgrade his Byakugan to the next stage. After enjoying the almost crazy promotion speed brought by plundering the Byakugan of the same race, honest practice is as bland and tasteless as plain water and white noodles. Killing fellows and absorbing the essence, this is the correct upgrade route for Ning-Chi's white eyes. According to the current rate of essence collection, advancing from the third stage to the final stage requires at least 30 pairs of medium to high concentration white eye essence. Ning-Chi lowered his eyes. In terms of the current number of survivors of the Hyuga clan, we can only barely make up the number by counting everyone who is working in Konoha or going out. I don't know if I still need to use the Byakugan essence after the final stage. The new Hyuga clan bloodline needs time to grow. The original Hyuga clan currently living in Konoha is really killing one batch at a time, and the Byakugan essence available for harvest will only become less and less. How to sustainably cut leaks is a question worth pondering for future Ning-Chi. As for now, of course, there are so many things to worry about, let's get stronger first. 15 minutes later, dinner was ready. Ning-Chi's cooking skills were very good, and simple ingredients could produce a mouth-watering taste. Is this chicken? Neji stared at the only meat on the table. Pigeon meat. Ning-Chi replied lightly. Huh. Neji looked at him suspiciously. Could it be that my brother shot down someone else's homing pigeon? After tasting it, Neji's eyes lit up. It tastes really good. Who cares? Brother, I'm just asking, if we are separated, there is no way to fight against the caged bird curse seal. Neji buried his head in the food, pretending to be very casual and asked. Ning-Chi glanced at him and said methodically, what you want to know is that many members of the Hyuga branch have tried in history, but whether they used sealing techniques to fight against the curse seal, or used suspended animation to trigger the caged bird to escape the golden cicada, they all ended in failure. These living creatures, the examples are written in the ancestral hall of the Hyuga clan to remind all branch members not to mess around. You will understand these things when you become a genin and are qualified to enter the ancestral hall. Then, Ning-Chi rolled his eyes. Is it true that there have been successful examples in history, but the ancestral family was afraid that other descendants of the branch family would imitate them and would not record them? Those recorded in the ancestral halls were specially selected to scare people. An example of our failure. I don't rule out this possibility, Ning-Chi smiled, but it doesn't make sense. After all, it is the curse seal that the Hyuga clan has perfected and passed down for thousands of years. Even if there are successful examples, it is most likely that it will be quite extreme or difficult to replicate. Method. Otherwise the Hyuga family in Konoha would not be the only one in the current ninja world. Anyway, there is currently no way to directly counter the caged bird curse seal. Quote. Ning-Chi said it very naturally, but Ning-Chi was quite frustrated and could not directly fight against the caged bird curse seal. So how could he resist Hinata Ling's oppression? Neji looked up suddenly. Then, is there any indirect one? Neji felt that he had recalled the key points of Ning-Chi's words and asked quickly. Yes, Just kill all the Hyuga clan members who have mastered the secret order of the caged bird. Ningchi said with a smile. Ah, Nechi suddenly showed bitterness on his face. What kind of solution is this? Brother, aren't you kidding me? Don't care if I'm joking or not, just say it doesn't solve the problem. Seeing his brother's bachelor look, Nechi gritted his teeth and simply followed his words and said, even if we want to kill the Hyuga clan, the first time we show our murderous intention, we will definitely be controlled by them using secret orders, right? Who asked you to kill them together? Just come one by one while they are unprepared. Ningchi said casually. How is it possible? How long can you kill one person by yourself, and how long can you still kill without being noticed? It's over as soon as it's discovered. Ningji shook his head repeatedly. Ningchi said it as if all members of the clan were stupid pigs waiting to be slaughtered, and they could just walk over and stab them one by one. And even if it can be done, the hatred brought by the caged bird will not support Neji at all to go to the step of destroying the Hyuga clan. Although he hates the caged bird that controls his life and hates the arrogant and domineering Hinata Ling, he also enjoys it at the same time. After receiving the benefits of the Hyuga clan, they enjoyed free admission and enjoyed various invisible benefits that are usually invisible. Neji was not cold-blooded enough to swing a knife at the Zong family for this. This is a matter of technique. How will you know you can't do it if you don't try it? Ningchi curled his lips disdainfully. Then go try it, Neji suggested. What are you trying to do? I've already done that, Ningchi said. Alas, Ningqi held his forehead and sighed, coming again. His brother was good at everything, but he was a little too open-minded and had no inhibitions. He also said such things everywhere. No wonder someone else's Anbu investigated the family. Brother, just tell me what you said, but don't let the Zong family hear it, they will take it seriously. The Hyuga clan has a well-known, crime of disrespect, penalty regulations. This regulation applies to the transgressive behavior of all members of the Hyuga clan, such as juniors being disrespectful to their elders, such as dividing families and being disrespectful to the clan. Of course, the regulation is primarily intended to deal with the latter. Ningchi smiled noncommittally. He had been punished like this twice before. Although he learned better later, in Ningqi's opinion, he still had a criminal record. After dinner, Ningqi was about to go out. Brother, what are you going to do? Neji asked, hugging the unfinished pigeon. Plant a tree, Ningqi said without looking back. Neji was speechless for a moment. If you don't want to say it, don't say it. What about planting trees? It was very late after planting the tree. Ningqi came to the training ground of the Hyuga clan. Since he has just entered the third stage, Ningqi still doesn't know how much his strength has increased, so he plans to come here to try his hand. He looked into his own eyes in the mirror. The changes in the purity of the Byakugan in the third stage are not obvious. The purity of the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan is directly linked to talent. The essence of the Byakugan after the death of his father Hizashi is the root of Ningqi's rise. Now, after absorbing the Byakugan of so many tribesmen and entering the third stage, Ningqi's Byakugan the purity has been so high that mist has formed in her eyes. This change adds a feminine touch to Ningqi's originally delicate appearance. The short blade from the waist was drawn out. The bloody mud had been simply removed, but there was still a faint fishy smell on the blade. This was a flaw that could be sniffed out by the Inuzuka clan and their ninja dogs. There would be more to follow. The second covering treatment can draw the sword in front of them. When killing people, the characteristics of the soft fist are too obvious and can be easily recognized. It is far less clean and traceless than a sharp blade. After absorbing the essence of Hizashi's Byakugan, the purity of my Byakugan has been raised to a higher level. This allows me to have more sensitive dynamic vision, more accurate insight, and a farther and wider visual range than other tribesmen. And, I also have awakened my first ability, insight. Byakugan itself has the ability to see clearly. It can penetrate obstacles and see clearly who is behind it, but it cannot determine who the other person is. The black and white composition has limited effect. But the world after Ningqi's insight is colorful. There is no secret in the whole world in his eyes. Not only can he easily judge the identity of the person behind the obstacle, but he can also turn a blind eye to those illusions or ninjutsu that target vision. This is also the basis for him to be evenly matched with the illusion genius Itachi and be called the two prides of Konoha. Eyes open, Ning-Chi cut off the mechanism rope, and suddenly dozens of preset kunai flew towards him. This is an array of mechanisms that is enough to kill most chunin. Without releasing ninjutsu, many junin will only suffer from hatred. However, in Ning-Chi's eyes, these kunai shot became very slow. Not only did they reveal flaws everywhere, but the gaps between them also became extremely wide. Ning-Chi did not move. He looked calm and swung the short blade in his hand. Every blow hit the tip of the kunai. The shadow of the sword hunted and danced, and the whole movement was smooth and flowing. Just listen to the sound of clashes between soldiers. The next moment, all these dense kunai arrays were chopped away by him. The speed of discerning weaknesses has increased by at least 30% compared to the second stage. Ning-Chi raised the corner of his mouth. No matter how you play soft boxing, swordsmanship and Byakugan are a match made in heaven. The ability given to me by the Byakugan in the second stage is analysis. Ning-Chi spread his hands, and thunder gathered in his palms. This is Konoha's copy of the famous work of ninja Kakashi Hatake, Reikiri. Then the thunder disappeared, the wind suddenly rose, and the blue chakra gathered into a bright ball in Ning-Chi's hand. This was the proud work of the fourth Hokage, the Rasengan. Then the ninjutsu of 3 different attributes, fire, earth, and water, were presented one after another. Ning-Chi is not a genius, but his analytical ability helps him fully understand the working principles of these ninjutsu, and reappearing them is just as natural as following the rules. Of course, since Ning-Chi is a thunder attribute chakra, except for Reikiri and the non-attribute Rasengan, the other ninjutsu mentioned above will not be very effective in actual combat. Analyzing and reproducing the operating rules of related ninjutsu is only one of the insignificant ways to utilize the entire analytical ability. The most important thing is that analytical ability can quantify everything Ning-Chi sees. The degree of analysis means the degree of mastery. Complete analysis means complete mastery. In the face of analytical ability, there is no ninjutsu that cannot be analyzed and mastered, even if this ninjutsu was made up by Ning-Chi himself. Yes, as long as the basic ninjutsu operation circuit is designed, no matter how difficult the learning is, as long as the analytical ability is given some time, Ning-Chi will definitely learn it. Of course, the practical effect is another matter. The higher the difficulty of learning ninjutsu, the longer the analysis time. Over the years, Ning-Chi has used his analytical ability to create and master 17 ninjutsu, 10 illusions, and 8 swordsmanships. Among them, there are not many skills with practical value. The only thing that is truly groundbreaking and of important strategic value is an S-level illusion that has the ability to mislead all perceptions of reality. Ning-Chi calls it the art of Naraku here. It is difficult to test the analytical ability. There is only one analysis progress, which is the sword technique that Ning-Chi created based on the Konoha sword technique and the secret sword technique. Analyzing. Swordsmanship. Difficulty. S-level. Analysis progress. 41.4%. The parsing progress figures jump very slowly. According to the inference, it will take at least a month to complete the parsing. The parsing speed is about 15% higher than the second stage. Once the analysis is completed, this will be the second S-level technique that Ning-Chi has mastered in addition to the Naraku technique here. The ability given to me by the Byakugan of the third stage is copying. Ning-Chi frowned unconsciously. He had only completed the third stage of promotion in the past few days. He had not yet tried this new ability in detail. Anyway, give it a try. The white eyes opened, and Ning-Chi's snow-white pupils flashed with faint blue light. He stared at the short blade in front of him, his analytical ability running crazily at this moment. Analyzing. Standard short knife. Difficulty. Level D. Analysis progress. 20%. Then it jumped to 55%, and in the blink of an eye the entire analysis progress reached 100%. Analysis successful. The mist-like chakra emerged at this moment. As Ning-Chi's seal was completed, the surrounding chakra seemed to be sucked in by a black hole and gathered together crazily. The next second, the chakra mist dissipated, and an identical short blade appeared out of thin air on the table. Ning-Chi looked at the 2 short blades with a solemn expression. This short blade is not a shadow clone, but a real material structure. There is no difference at all, even the faint smell of blood on the knife is exactly the same. Copy and paste. create something out of nothing. This is yin-yang escape technique. Ningqi felt that most of the chakra was missing in his body, and couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. This is not a copy of Kakashi's ninjutsu, but an actual creation of something tangible from the invisible. It's an unknown number of levels higher than Kakashi's Sharingan. From the current point of view, copying dead things is possible, but living things may not be. No, everything that can be analyzed should be able to be copied. The only restriction should be the amount of chakra required. Although it is useless in actual combat, turning the void into reality and creating all things is the power of an immortal who has mastered the yin and yang escape technique. With the ability to copy, there are so many places to operate. Ningqi thought a lot, but finally took a deep breath, and his expression gradually returned to calm. Copying a short blade consumes more than half of the chakra. If you don't solve the problem of chakra amount, no matter how much you think about it, you can only make a fool of yourself. The most important thing now is to improve the Byakugan's ability to the final stage. I don't know what kind of surprise the most advanced Byakugan will bring to me. At this time, footsteps sounded at the door. Ningqi, the patriarch wants to see you. Master Guang, when did you come back? Ningqi put away the short blade and asked the visitor with a smile. Hyuga Hikaru is a member of the Hyuga clan. He has a similar background to Hyuga Ling who bullied Neji in the ninja school. His father is also a senior figure with a pivotal position in the Hyuga clan. He himself is also extremely talented and has a calm personality. Ningqi is only 3 years older and just became a Junin of Konoha this year. Ningqi looked at him. Although Hinata Hikaru had not offended him, there was nothing he could do about it. Who gave him a pair of extremely pure white eyes? I just came back not long ago. Hinata Guang paused, not noticing the malice in Ningqi's eyes, but feeling a little confused. He had just returned from a 3-month mission. The first thing he did after handing over the mission to the third Hokage was to come to the Hazu clan leader to report his work. However, before he could speak, the clan leader sent him to find him. Ningqi continued. Hyuga Hikaru admitted that Ningqi was extremely talented and beautiful, and the two prides of Konoha were worthy of their reputation. The fact that one person could make the entire younger generation of the Hyuga clan unable to hold their heads up was a fact that could only be achieved with a fist. Of course, many of the young people of the clan who once stood opposite Ningqi have now died inexplicably, but Hinata Hikaru is one of the few exceptions. He is calm and upright, and does not like to bully the small. Although he is different from Ningqi, they are familiar with each other and don't interact much with each other, but there is no conflict. After experiencing many life and death crises during the mission, he also increasingly understands the preciousness of life and the importance of companions. For someone as powerful as Ningqi, sooner or later he will be able to support himself. The elites of the same race who want to create a whole world have no objections. But the so-called geniuses are, after all, just ordinary people whose huge potential has not yet been realized. No matter how good-tempered Hinata Hikaru is, he is still a Junin. His qualifications and status are here. After all, when he reports his duties to the clan leader, when will he be needed? Is the genius of the separated family, listening to politics behind the curtain. Mr. Patriarch, do you value this Ningqi so much? The two walked side by side, but Hinata didn't feel comfortable with it, so he simply asked directly, do you know why the Rizu clan leader asked you to come over? Because there is a new pair of white eyes that I am ready to receive. Ningqi looked at him. This thought flashed in his mind. Maybe it's because of the recent cases of missing people in the clan. Ningqi casually made up a reason. Hinata Hikaru was stunned. He didn't expect this answer, and the resentment rising in his heart dissipated instantly. He was away on a mission for a long time and had just returned. He didn't know about the recent tragedy that happened in the separation family, so he quickly asked the reason, and Ningqi briefly described the matter. Someone is secretly targeting our Hyuga clan. 3 corpses have been discovered in the village this month, Hyuga Tokuma, Hyuga Tsubaki and Hyuga Yu. They are all members of the branch family. Among them, Tokuma and Tsubaki are both Anbu troops directly under the Hokage. They did not have any tasks when they died. In body. There are actually more missing members of the clan than those whose bodies have been found. I have reason to suspect that all the missing Hyuga clan members have been killed, but their bodies have not yet been found. The opponent is a very cruel and cunning guy. We don't know when he started targeting our Hyuga clan. Master Guang, do you still remember? In the early years, the Hyuga clan also had incidents where many clan members disappeared one after another. Almost the same as today, when even the body was not found. The past few years have passed, and similar things have happened again. They have attracted great attention from the Hokage. I don't know when the results of the investigation will be available. The Rizu clan leader may feel that we can't just wait. The crisis of this incident still requires let's handle it ourselves. Ning-chi pretended to analyze. Even Tokuma, Hyuga Hikaru didn't expect that things would be so difficult. Although Hyuga Tokuma is a member of the branch family, he has extremely pure Byakugan. He is currently second only to Ning-chi among the younger generation of the branch family. A genius, I didn't expect that even he would be killed. So the clan leader wants us to work together to find the mastermind this time. Hinata frowned, thinking about the subtle look that Hokage-sama looked at him when he returned from completing his mission not long ago. Why didn't Hokage-sama tell me? Have you ever experienced these things? Ning-chi didn't speak, and Ri Shangguang realized it immediately. The victims listed above were all members of the Hyuga branch. For some reason, Lord Hokage doesn't seem to trust his clan member very much. But he clearly went out on a mission and had a perfect alibi. Could it be that? Is it just the Hyuga clan that Lord Hokage doesn't trust? Why? Hinata became increasingly confused. The air was a little quiet for a while, and the two entered the mansion of the head of the Hyuga clan through a side door. Go this way. Ning-chi led the way. The head of the family's mansion occupies a large area and has quite complete facilities. The lights on both sides of the road are dim and unclear, not even as bright as the moonlight, but they are still trying to emit their own light, as if they want to tear this desperate and illusory moon veil. There was a strange smell in the air. The moment Hinata took a step forward, he paused. Then it was as if he had entered another world and was replaced by another person. He suddenly couldn't remember the problem he was thinking about just now. He shook his head and simply didn't think about it anymore. You are more familiar with this than me, a member of the clan. Hinata muttered. It's just that Master Guang, you come back too few times. Ning-chi in front tilted his head, with a bright smile on his black and white face shrouded in shadow. Hinata looked at the many newly planted flowers, plants and trees on both sides and nodded. I didn't notice it before. I haven't been back for 3 months. The changes here are really big. More and more trees are being planted in the courtyard, and the atmosphere is becoming more and more deserted. Ri Shangguang euphemistically described the gloomy atmosphere in the courtyard as deserted, and Ning Kiruo said meaningfully. Yes, the patriarch has recently fallen in love with garden art. The attendant on duty nearby seemed to hear the conversation between the two people. He turned around and greeted Hinata Hikaru, his left arm swinging wildly, and his expression could not be seen clearly. Master Guang, is that you? Quick, run, this is all an illusion. You, the one next to you, is a devil. Hinata Hikaru heard every greeting from the other party and responded with a smile. Long time no see, Semima, you are still as beautiful as before. After the two of them walked past the woman on duty for a while, Ri Shangguang complained to Ning-chi in a low voice. Senma was the guard assigned to me by the Zong family when I was a child. We have a very good relationship, but we haven't seen each other for so long. I don't even know when she painted her eyes black. It's really ugly. He didn't realize anything was wrong. It was more like he mistook Hinata Suma's completely black eyes for some kind of woman's colored contact lenses. Ning-chi raised her eyelids, put one hand behind her back, and pointed her finger at the woman. Then Samir's frightened expression gradually returned to calm. She no longer struggled to catch up and reminded her Master Guang to be careful of the men around him. Instead, he really stood there like a loyal attendant, with a dull look on his face. Don't look back. It's not good for people to know that we are talking about her behind her back. Hinata reminded, and Ning-chi nodded to express that you should be polite. There were servants working in the forest not far away. Hinata watched them chop up tree stumps that were as tall as one person, and then buried them in the soil, waiting for them to sprout. They were working so enthusiastically that she couldn't help but sigh in her heart about the patriarch's care for the garden. Love of art. The two entered the east room side by side. As they walked, a figure in front gradually became clear. After seeing each other clearly, Hinata asked, "Shaosha, what are you doing?" The maid Hinata Shaw was vigorously rubbing the blood-red stains on the floor outside the study. She didn't look back when she heard this, and just said softly, "Tokuma accidentally spilled paint on the floor and I was cleaning it up." "That boy Tokuma is always sloppy," Hinata Guang nodded, but didn't take it seriously. He pointed to the study and asked, "I brought Ningqi over. Is the patriarch in there?" "Tokuma accidentally spilled the paint on the floor, I'm cleaning it up." This is what Ningqi heard, but Hinata, who was deeply involved in the illusion, obviously heard other words. "Oh, wait for us in the main hall, thank you Shaosha." Hinata Guang then pulled Ningqi and went straight to the main hall. The door was opened, and the light in the main hall was dim. Only one candle was swinging for illumination. The four walls were hung with dim curtains, like tangled spider webs, waiting for the next prey to walk into this already arranged place. In the trap, the man sitting cross-legged on the main seat slowly raised his head, and the candlelight shone on the left side of his face, making the light and darkness distinct. At this time, Hinata Hinashi's face was haggard, his body was thin, and his eye sockets were deeply sunken, as if he hadn't slept for several days. His eyes were bloodshot, his robes were full of filth and mold, and his hands seemed to have been broken by something, and threw it feebly on the desk. "It's been a long time since I last saw you, Patriarch, and you still look like you." Hinata Hikaru seemed to have not noticed the strange surroundings at all, and flattered him immediately after he sat down. Rizu glanced at Ri Shangguang, and then looked at Ningqi, his pale eyes first filled with grief, and then revealed deep hatred. Creak, creak. It was the sound of teeth cutting together. "Yes, I have successfully completed this lurking mission and got the information we wanted." This mission. In the quiet room, Hinata Hikaru seemed to have received praise from the clan leader and started with excitement. Summary of this work report. Rizu's eyes moved to Hinata Hikari again, his expression became extremely sad, he opened his mouth, and finally spoke hoarsely. "How many more people do you have to kill before you are satisfied?" The debriefing speech was interrupted. Hinata raised his head blankly, glanced at the clan leader and quickly lowered his head, then hesitantly said, "No, I've already eaten ramen, so there's no need to eat together." "It doesn't depend on me," Ningqi responded lightly. "When he gathers the essence of the Byakugan and improves the purity of the Byakugan to the final stage, he will naturally no longer be interested in the Hyuga clan. As for now, because Ningqi is not strong enough to challenge the Hyuga clan or even the entire Konoha, just like Baichi of the Qin state killed 400,000 surrendered soldiers of the Zhao state in the previous life, the cruel methods are just for self-protection. He was helpless. After all, if even a little bit of news about hunting his own clan spread, he would no longer be able to stay in Konoha, and his promotion to the Byakugan stage would therefore become far away. Yes, it's not just the branch family. Ningqi's massacre against the Hyuga clan has already started very early. However, compared to the members of the Hyuga clan who have little status, the consequences of the random death of clan members are particularly serious. Obtaining the essence of their white eyes requires more attention to methods. As I said to Ningqi at the dinner table before, the Hyuga clan is still one of the top famous families in Konoha no matter what. With the fatal debuff of the caged bird on their forehead, Ningqi has always been able to choose to resist. In fact, there are not many ways to do it. Using illusions to slowly encroach and defeat them one by one is actually a last resort. Just like this, right now, even if Ningqi has successfully controlled the entire Patriarch's mansion, the tightrope is only halfway through. Once the matter is exposed and a clan elder sacrifices the caged bird curse seal, Ningqi will immediately fall into a situation of no return. The hinges penetrated Rizu's leg bones and shoulder blades, leaving him fixed in his seat. Rizu tried hard to raise his arms, trying to stand up on the desk, but his broken wrist always slipped away. The broken bones in the meat scraped against the wooden board and made a squeaking sound. After several failures, Rizu simply put his elbow on the table, leaned forward, stared at Ningqi closely, and made a sound in his throat, like the curse of an evil ghost. "You killed my wife." You killed Tokuma, you killed Huomen. You took out all their eyes. You controlled Hinata Sha, and you arranged an illusion barrier around this mansion. You imprisoned me, you imprisoned all the clan elders, and now you want to kill Xiaoguang. You beast, you, please kill me. There was a bang, and Rizu, who was about to get up, was directly buckled to the desk by the tightened hinges. Hey, the patriarch asked you if you have eaten. Hinata Guang secretly pulled Ningqi's sleeve. Deep in the illusion, he saw Hinata Rizu and Ningqi saw Hinata Rizu, who was obviously full of emotions. Gap. Ningqi ignored Ri Shangguang and just shook his head, refusing to bear the responsibility for crimes that did not belong to him. I have not imprisoned all the clan elders. After all, there are still some clan elders whose names you haven't given me yet. The whereabouts of those clan elders are not fixed, and only clan leader Rizu knows where they are going, but it is not easy to dig out information from him. You were dreaming. Rizu spat out blood. Kill me. Rizu's stubbornness was not beyond Ningqi's expectation. He pursed his lips and talked about another thing. There have been recent changes within the Uchiha clan, and it is very likely that they are preparing for rebellion. In order to deal with this civil war, our Lord Hokage is secretly recalling most of the ninjas, including all members of the Hyuga family. This is a perfect opportunity to deprive them of their eyes. I don't want to wait any longer. So I hope that you, the patriarch, can hold a clan meeting next week and organize all the members of the Hyuga clan to participate. The name of the meeting is to discuss countermeasures for the cases of missing members of the Hyuga clan that have become more frequent recently. What do you think, clan leader? Quote. Rizu, who has been imprisoned here for almost a month, does not know what is happening in the outside world. His white eyes cannot see through the illusion barrier that envelopes the entire family head's mansion, and everyone around him is deeply trapped in Ningqi's illusion. Among them, Rizu's only source of information is the rebellious Hyuga clan in front of him, Ningqi, and every time the other party comes, it means that another Hyuga clan member is about to be poisoned. You must let Hinata exterminate the clan to satisfy you. The hinges were clicking, and Hinata roared like crazy. The Uchiha clan is preparing to rebel, which will inevitably arouse all the thoughts of Konoha. Ningqi plans to kill all the survivors of the entire Hyuga clan in the name of the clan association at that time. In the eyes of Rizu, it is very possible to succeed. As soon as he thought about it, Rizu could no longer calm down. It was originally thought that sooner or later, the top management of Konoha would discover the disaster that the Hyuga clan was encountering, but obviously, with Uchiha stirring up trouble there, no one would care about the unusual situation of the Hyuga clan leader's recent retreat. When the clan meeting starts next week, all clan members present will be killed, their eyes will be gouged out, and the entire Hyuga clan will be eaten up by Ningqi. This is a result that Rizu cannot accept at all. Is the 1,000-year inheritance of my Hyuga clan really going to be destroyed by my own hands? The patriarch is joking. I am still alive, how can Hinata wipe out the clan? Ningqi corrected softly at this time. Hazu closed his eyes. Genocide is not unacceptable. It's such a pity. He kept shaking his head. What's a pity? Ningqi asked. Hazashi died too late. Hazashi said. In the past, he would feel guilty and regretful for the death of his younger brother Hazashi. Now, he only feels that Hazashi really committed a heinous crime and put the entire Hyuga clan into a crisis of genocide. Why didn't he die sooner? Ningqi chuckled softly and understood what the other party meant. He just felt that Hazashi died too late and gave birth to himself, a scourge of the Hyuga clan. He ignored it and just brought the topic back. The matter of next week's clan meeting has been finalized. You don't need to be too pessimistic. I have a lot of Byakugan to collect, and they will not kill indiscriminately. Give me the information on the remaining Hyuga clan elders, and I will go. I made them look bad, and in exchange, I let the juniors like Hinata and Neji go. What do you think of this deal, Mr. Patriarch? Rizu was silent for a long time this time, and then gave a fair evaluation. Quote. You are worse than a beast. Tiger poison cannot eat its seeds, but you are not even willing to let go of your own brother. In fact, although Ningqi is my younger brother, and although he hates the caged bird and the clan deeply, he is the inheritor of the will of fire and will never agree with my current approach. Ningqi spread his hands. He looked helpless. But who made me his eldest brother? I still love him very much. I ranked him last for eye roll material. The magic here and there is wrong technique is a very common sea-level illusion technique, which covers everything in sight with an illusory skin, making the target think that what they see is actually another thing. The magic, what is not here technique itself does not have any lethality. It is only used to visually mislead the enemy, so it is easy to see through. However, the advantage is that it can be released in a large area, causing many people to hallucinate at the same time. Magic Narakumi no Jutsu is a simpler D-level illusion. Everyone has fear in their hearts. As the saying goes, the more you fear something, the more it grows. The effect of Narakumi no Jutsu is to materialize the fear in the enemy's heart, making the opponent think that is the reality, so as to destroy the enemy's morale. Unlike the non-jutsu here, the Narakumi no Jutsu is a single-body illusion that occurs at close range. It is not just visual misdirection, but also misleads all the senses of the human body such as sound and smell. Moreover, because the fear in everyone's heart is different, so the enemies see different things after the illusion occurs, which is particularly important. This C-level illusion, this D-level illusion, this is the inspired composition of the S-level difficult illusion developed by Ningqi through his analytical ability, the art of Naraku here. Ningqi's attainments in illusions can only be said to be above average, but with analytical ability, at least in terms of the speed of developing and learning illusions, even Uchiha Itachi, the illusion genius, pales in comparison to Ningqi. The Naraku technique here combines the common characteristics of the two basic illusions above. It has no lethality. Generally speaking, it is just an auxiliary illusion. Its only purpose is to control the reality felt by all creatures within the range to a certain extent. Modification. It's just that the effect of this modification is a bit too amazing. Before taking action against the Hyuga clan, Ningqi also found some illusion masters in Konoha. For example, Uchiha Itachi, Yuhi Hong and others had actual combat. When even they couldn't see the disguise of Naraku's technique here, Ningqi knew it. This technique has been successful. The art of Naraku here can express everything seen, heard, and felt by creatures within a certain range in a way that conforms to the subject's thinking habits, just like the art of seeing Naraku imprints the subject just like the fear in the heart. Naraku's technique here is to modify the things in front of him into the most natural. Things should be like this, in the mind of the subject. Let the objective things try their best to conform to the subject's subjective thinking. This is the fundamental reason why Naraku's technique here is difficult to see through. For example, burying a corpse is misled into planting a tree, or an actual corpse is modified into a tree stump, or an old friend's hysterical warning, run, is twisted into a smiling, long time no see, and sent to the recipient's heart, ear. Here the Naraku no Jutsu hides the specific reality, reverses right and wrong, and changes the true and false. It continues the common advantages of the Hir no Jutsu and the Naraku no Jutsu, large range, strong misleading, high adaptability, and long duration. It lasts for a long time, and does not require strict learning thresholds such as blood succession limits. In addition to being too difficult to learn and requiring a large amount of chakra to release, it is almost something that an ordinary ninja without illusion bloodline like Ningqi can learn and master. The most powerful illusion. For example, right now, Hinata Hikaru is sitting upright, looking at the solemn hall, where the majestic Rizu clan leader and the angry Hinata Ningqi are arguing with each other on almost ridiculous issues. Be sure to add sugar when eating red bean soup. Impossible, adding salt is the most authentic. The Rizu clan leader looked very angry and seemed to want to stand up, but in the end he restrained himself. He leaned on the desk and turned to look at himself. Xiaoguang, tell me, what do you think should be added to red bean soup? Although I felt that it was not appropriate to discuss this topic now, since the clan leader asked the question, Hinata Hikaru also started to think about it seriously and said. It was still a dilapidated room that had not been cleaned for a long time, and Rizu and Ningqi were having a fierce confrontation. The longer a person is controlled by Naraku's technique here, the easier it is for a person to lose the ability to move. This is a mechanical degradation phenomenon in which the biological consciousness has long been accustomed to the realistic logic of, this is how things should be, and no longer thinks about it. There are many servants from different families in the entire house of the head of the family, such as Hinata Shah and Hinata Sama. These people were quite spiritual when the Naraku technique was first used here. However, as time goes by, these people are becoming more and more sluggish. From the beginning, they could still think and understand, but later they could only obey instinctively. The reality, presented to them by illusion, until now, even illusion can no longer move these people, and they finally turned into a tree, lost their ability to think, and were treated as tree stumps by servants who could still move and chopped into 18 pieces. After the block was buried in the soil, the servants are slowly dying under the control of genjutsu, which is why the entire Hinata family's mansion is rapidly becoming filthy and dilapidated. Fortunately, the almighty Naraku no Jutsu will automatically modify this reality, which is likely to be seen as flawed by outsiders, and use illusions to cover the surface of the flaw with a layer of gold and jade. I won't agree to you. Go ahead and kill your brother. Hazu let his hair down and refused Ningqi's proposal to trade the lives of the clan elders for the lives of Ningqi, Hinata and other juniors. As a token of appreciation for your attitude, I will place Hinata's head on your desk tomorrow. Ningqi was not polite at all. The Naraku technique here has a very obvious shortcoming, that is, once this technique is seen through, it is almost impossible to have a second chance to take effect, and the Naraku technique here will also lose its effect forever. It's a pity that Hinata is worthy of being the leader of the Hyuga clan. He noticed something was wrong with his situation when Ningqi's eyes were promoted from the second stage to the third stage of weakness, and for simulating illusions generally speaking, once suspicion arises, the crime has been established. The key to Naraku's technique here is that it is too natural, and reality is often unreasonable. Rizu quickly got rid of the control of Naraku's technique here, and if Ningqi hadn't been on guard and nailed him in the main hall, Ningqi would have been forced to flee from Konoha in embarrassment at this time. Hey, you can chop off Xiaoguang's head first and see if I can blink. Hazu glanced at Hinata and said with a sneer. I think soy sauce should be added to red bean soup. Hinata responded, looking at the two of them expectantly, hoping to get their recognition of his taste. Ningqi held his chin and glanced at Hinata Guang. Since it was the patriarch's request, then, he nodded and took out the short blade from his waist. Rizu's expression gradually faded, and the corners of his mouth trembled slightly. Ningqi's expression was dull, but his words were almost joking. Red bean soup. Of course you have to add salt. You heretic with soy sauce. Die. The next moment, the short blade was swung out. Wait a minute, the hinge swayed, and Rizu roared, his hair and hair growing all over his face that had not been groomed for a long time. Late, the head flew high. Until his death, Hinata Hikaru still had a reserved smile on his face. Collected essence. 7.1%. Blood was splashing everywhere, and blood-red bubbles were bubbling out from the smooth neck. Xiao Guang accidentally spilled the paint on the floor. Come clean it up. Ningqi called to Hinata Sha who was cleaning the floor outside the study. Xiao Guang accidentally spilled the paint on the floor, I was cleaning it up. Hinata murmured. Although her eyes were gouged out, under the control of Naraku's technique, hallucinations can be directly generated in her mind, so she still can see, and still act like a normal person. Hinata Sha quickly moved Hinata Hikaru's body. The death of a clan member is not easy to deal with. Their number is pitifully small compared to the branch clans, and all of them have a name. Any accident that occurs will easily attract the attention of the Hyuga clan and the top management of Konoha. After all, only the clan can be called the true inheritor of the power of the Hyuga clan. But for Ningqi, who plans to kill all the survivors of the Hyuga clan next week, this kind of long-term trouble is not a trouble at all. Ningqi wiped the blood stains on his face and said lightly, I will reunite your father and daughter tomorrow. Rizu didn't curse at all this time. He lowered his head and the shadow covered his face. His slightly trembling body showed Ningqi that he was not as calm as he showed. Ningqi left. Rizu slowly raised his head, his expression a little dull. He opened his mouth slightly, trying to persuade him to stay, but no sound came out. Ningqi kept his word and put considerable pressure on Rizu. The other party is so cold-blooded that he doesn't look like a living person. I'm sorry, daughter. Hazu closed his eyes slightly. He vaguely seemed to see the introverted and lovely childlike daughter saying, save me, to him, and for a moment he felt like a knife. However, cannot be done. Really cannot. Rizu does not believe that Ningqi will abide by the agreement and really let Hinata and the others go. Compared with his own daughter, the remaining clan branches led by the elders of the Hyuga clan are the last hope of their Hyuga clan. This is all for the continuation of the Hyuga clan. This is the responsibility that Hyuga Hazashi must bear as the head of the Hyuga clan. He kept telling himself. Oh, I remembered that you have a daughter named Hanabi, right? No wonder you are so heartless. It turns out that she is your favorite. I heard that Hanabi is next door now, so don't wait until tomorrow. I'll do it now. Bring her head to you. At some point, Ningchi suddenly turned back. He didn't know where he heard the news, and said excitedly to Rizu in the room through the window. Judging from the performance in the original work, Hazu obviously prefers his second daughter Hanabi to his eldest daughter Hinata, and regards the latter as the next head of the Hyuga family. It is no wonder that Hazu doesn't care much about Hinata. It turned out that she had been regarded as an abandoned child by Rizu for a long time. Ningchi felt that he had guessed the answer, the moment he turned around and was about to take action. Wait a moment. Different from the silence just now, this time, Hinata Hazu, who could no longer bear the torment in his heart, finally spoke. You devil, let them go, let my two daughters go, and I will tell you everything you want to know. When he said this, he covered his face with his arms, but tears couldn't stop pouring out. The strong sense of betrayal of betraying his tribe for selfish reasons made it hard for him to breathe. Ah, sorry, you spoke too late. Ah, Rizu raised his head in shock, only to see Ningchi looking at him with regretful eyes. I always keep my word and kill when I say it. You surrendered too late, but it doesn't matter. You still have a Hinata anyway, which is enough to continue the bloodline, right? Did you wait until I came back to hope that I could surrender? How can such a good thing happen? Ningchi sneered, turned around and walked towards Hanabi's room, leaving Hazu, who looked desperate for a moment, frantically tossing the noose on his body. When Ningchi came back, he smelled the smell of blood on the other party's body that suddenly became stronger. Rizu went crazy for a long time. He told Ningchi any information, but when Ningchi became impatient and wanted to leave again, asking him to wait until tomorrow to touch his second daughter's head, Rizu gave up. After telling Ningchi the information he wanted, Rizu seemed to have finally died, slumped in his seat, and did not move again for a long time. He still prefers to be a father than a patriarch. The moonlight casts broken shadows all over the ground through the branches and leaves. Ningchi looked back and saw a huge white-eyed phantom floating in the sky above the Hinata family's mansion. This was a sign that Naraku's technique was activated here. Similar to the function of this technique to modify reality in the eyes of others, this white-eyed shadow was floating in the sky. The shadow will probably be rationalized as a flag-like decoration standing on the roof. The art of Naraku here is not essentially an illusion on people, but an illusion on space. Everything within the scope of the space can only feel the reality, modified by the illusion, but for people outside the range, this the effect of modifying reality that varies from person to person is no longer valid. Real things remain what they should be. This is also an obvious flaw of this technique. As for Ningchi's response plan, it is simple, that is, just keep everything on the surface of the owner's mansion normal. No one would know that Ningchi had transformed the entire family head's mansion into an abyss, waiting for his prey to come to him. Thinking of the negotiation process with Hinata Rizu just now, Ningchi frowned slightly. After all, the Naraku technique here is just an illusion created by Ningchi. The side effect of being no longer effective after being seen through is still too fatal. The biggest disadvantage of this technique is the advantage is that it is extremely difficult to detect when the technique is activated, and it is very secretive. However, in the future, as long as one person successfully escapes the control of the Naraku technique and spreads it with a big mouth, then there will be a big question mark as to whether this technique can still work. Like the elephant in the room, if one person questions it, everyone will react. This is an important optimization direction for this technique in the future. When Ningchi got home, it was already very late and the lights were still on. When Ningchi opened the door and went in, Ningxi, who was sleepy but insisted on waiting for his brother to come back, suddenly widened his eyes after being stunned for a few seconds. Eyes, no sleepiness at all. Brother, did you bring a cat back? He asked, pointing to the little guy in Ningchi's arms. Ningchi then threw Hinata Hanabi, who was sleeping soundly in his arms, to Nechi. You stay in the same room with her tonight. Wait a moment, brother. Neji was holding a girl who was at most 2 years old, a little at a loss. What's the meaning? Why did my brother suddenly come back with a child after being out for so long? Chapter 11. Brother, this kid wet the bed last night. As soon as Neji got up, he complained loudly to Ning-chi. The perpetrator, Hinata Hanabi, was hiding behind the door, sniffing quietly. Being brought to this small attic from the clan's mansion, it may be that the two brothers have Byakugan whose characteristics are obviously similar to his own, or it may be the residual influence of Naraku's art here. Hanabi did not show any fear or crying emotions, but just looked at when Neji pointed at him. He would purse his lips and look at the two of them aggrievedly. Ning-chi was preparing breakfast. At this time, he raised his head and caught a glimpse of large water stains on Ning-chi's body. He clicked his tongue and said in disgust, "You change your clothes and wash them before you talk to me." While the three of them were having breakfast around the dining table, a few pieces of clothes and a sheet were hung up on the balcony. "Brother, whose family does this child belong to? How long will he stay with us?" Ning-chi couldn't help but ask as he gnawed on the corn. This was the first time an outsider had lived in the house since his father Hazashi passed away, which made him quite uncomfortable. "You don't need to worry so much. Hanabi won't be able to live with us for long. As a brother of the same clan, you should take care of her during this period." Ning-chi glanced at the man next to him who was quietly holding a cup and sipping milk. Hanabi said casually. The purpose of taking Hanabi away was to scare the hardcore Nizu into handing over information. This little guy is only 2 years old this year, his Byakugan has just opened, and his ability to provide Byakugan essence is extremely limited. "Hanabi, are you the second young lady of the clan?" Neji's eyebrows suddenly darkened. He had also met Hinata and Hanabi during the Hyuga clan festival in previous years, although he was not angry because of his father's affairs. Innocent, but obviously not looking good. Ning-chi ignored him and just stuffed the bun into Wahuo's mouth. The little girl didn't know that the man in front of her was the murderer who killed her mother and imprisoned her father. She was very well behaved. Her mouth was full of oil when she ate, and she would whisper thank you when Ning-chi brought a tissue to wipe her mouth. Neji observed the movements of the two people, and suddenly seemed to understand something. His voice was suppressed with anger. "So you are going to be her bodyguard now? The clan will allocate powerful members of the branch family to serve as bodyguards for the noble clan members. This is a concrete manifestation of the branch family serving as the spear and shield in the hands of the clan. What makes Ning-ji particularly unbelievable is that even if he is as strong as Ning, isn't it strange that someone like this can't resist the orders of the clan?" For a time, Neji's dissatisfaction with the Hyuga clan grew to the extreme. Hanabi grabbed Ning-chi's sleeves, lowered her head in fear, and secretly observed the angry Neji across the table with her peripheral vision, wondering what was going on. Ning-chi raised his eyebrows. "Are you dizzy? I came to my own home as a bodyguard." "Oh, that makes sense." Neji immediately realized that he was confused because he was concerned. His elder brother Ning-chi occupies a particularly important position in his mind. He now has a bright future in the Anbu. He is expected to become a Jonin this year. This promotion speed is only 1 year later than the fastest Kakashi. If he is transferred within the clan at this time, Neji could not accept the prospect of being ruined as a private soldier to protect the second young lady Hanabi. "Where are you going?" Neji couldn't help but ask as he watched Ning-chi get up after eating. "What's going on? You haven't been such a mother-in-law before." Ning-chi glanced at Ning-ji with some surprise. "You are the elder brother and I am the elder brother. Where should I go to report to you?" "Oh." Ning-chi was a little disappointed. He was going to a ninja school today, but he still didn't know how to face the aggressive Hinata Ling. He felt quite irritable. He asked casually, "What should I do with this kid? Let him go. Should she stay home alone or be sent back to the clan?" I don't want to go back," Hanabi said quickly. Neji ignored her, but Ning-chi paused for a while and then suddenly turned around, touched Hanabi's head with interest, and asked, "Why don't you want to go back? Dad is sick, and so is my sister." Mom, she is asleep. She has been sleeping for many days. Sister Sha, Sister Senma, many of them are sick. They planted many trees in the yard at night. I'm afraid they will plant me as a tree," Hanabi said intermittently. Hearing this, Neji frowned. He was afraid that they would plant him into the soil like a tree, so he didn't want to go back. What kind of fantastic ideas are these? Fingertips traced Hanabi's eyebrows, and Ningqi stared at the girl's eyes that kept flashing because of shyness. This is a pair of extremely pure white eyes. You are very talented, Ningqi praised. But talent alone is obviously not enough to support Hanabi's resistance to what happened in the family head's mansion. Is it because the other party is still young? Ningqi was thinking about another possible loophole in the illusion he developed. Because he is too young and has limited logical thinking ability, is he less likely to be misled by the natural reality that has been modified by Naraku's technique? How likely is this? Ningqi pondered, thinking of Hinata-sama who suddenly awoke after seeing Hinata Hikaru last night, and Hinata who had been missing all this time, and suddenly came back to her senses. A little mouse is about to escape from the snare he has woven. While thinking about these things, Ningqi got dressed and was about to go out. When he turned around, he saw Ningqi looking at him worriedly. Ningqi clearly knew what Nechi was afraid of. He thought about it and said, "Don't go to school in the past few days. Please take leave." Neji's eyes suddenly widened. Ask for leave. Then couldn't he think of a way to face Hinata Ling who bullied him again? As the thought came together, Ningqi felt a little ashamed for a moment. The Hyuga Ling from the Zong family held the secret order to control the caged bird, which was like a huge mountain that weighed him down. Is he actually afraid of the other party to this extent? The situation in Konoha is not stable. Please stop running around before the clan meeting next week. Stay home and play with Hanabi for 2 days. Ningqi didn't care what Nechi was thinking, and just said it meaningfully. The teachers at the ninja school will understand. After the Hyuga clan meeting next week. Today is the day that Ningqi returns to the team after his injury leave. As the leader of a combat team at the route, he first wanted to report to Danzo. Ningqi, who do you think is stronger between you and Uchiha Itachi, the two prides of Konoha? In the dark hall, Danzo turned around silently, his plain voice disturbing the candle light in the hall echoed. This is a question that countless people have asked countless times. Public information shows that Ningqi and Itachi have been rivals since they were in the ninja school. Even after becoming Chunin, the two are still evenly matched, with each other winning or losing. It wasn't until Itachi joined the Anbu and became Kakashi's subordinate, and Ningqi joined the Anbu and was responsible for handling some less visible matters, that they gradually lost their confrontation and began to contribute their own share to the development of Konoha. Strength. As for privately, he is stronger. Ningqi lowered his head and said respectfully. Oh, Danzo looked half smiling. When I asked Itachi this question, he said you hid it deeper. I'm curious, what are you hiding? I wonder what Lord Danzo is referring to. Ningqi responded. Did you do the recent disappearance of the Hyuga clan? Danzo asked straight to the point. No, Ningqi looked confused. He seemed to feel ridiculous that he was being suspected. He shook his head and denied, I am also looking for the murderer of the tribe. Well, then you'd better take the initiative to avoid suspicion recently, and don't always be the first to appear next to those victims of the Hyuga clan. This will cause many people to misunderstand. Danzo suggested casually. In a report submitted by the Anbu, Ningqi was listed as one of the key suspects in the disappearance of many members of the Hyuga clan. The reporter also cited many evidences and details to support the report. The report had no clue except for Ningqi's motive. Except for this, all other content is done perfectly, so perfect that it can make people think wildly. Danzo didn't care whether Ningqi actually killed several of his clan members, but the report was placed on the third Hokage's desk. After seeing Ningqi's name on the report, Sarutobi turned around and threw the report away. To myself, the meaning is obvious. Keep your men in check. Whether it was him or not. Danzo knew very well that this was not for Ningqi, but for himself. Someone wanted to take advantage of the Hyuga clan's problems at this time to ease the opposition between Konoha and Uchiha. Well-intentioned. Yes, Ningqi lowered his head. No matter what you plan to do, Ningqi, now is not the time. Danzo glanced at him sideways, his voice was calm, but there was no doubt about it. The Uchiha clan is about to rebel, and no one wants to see the Hyuga clan rebel at the same time. Do you understand what I mean? The Uchiha clan is plotting to launch a coup. This is a key matter of concern to Konoha's top brass. Regarding how to solve the Uchiha problem, Danzo and Sarutobi will have fierce disputes every day. In private, of course, various actions are frequent. That letter, the report that suspected Ningchi was the murderer of the missing members of the Hyuga clan, was obviously the work of some people from the Dove faction. I understand. Ningchi bowed expressionlessly. Of course he understood what Danzo meant. The focus now was not Hinata, but Uchiha. Regardless of whether Ningchi was responsible for the murder and disappearance of members of the Hyuga clan, Danzo doesn't care. Anyway, if something goes wrong, it will be on Ningchi. It's up to you to deal with it. I heard that the Hyuga clan is going to hold a clan meeting. After finishing the discussion, Danzo looked up and asked as if he remembered something. Ningchi nodded. This news had been notified to all the Hyuga clan members via carrier pigeons last night. Of course, in case the senior Konoha officials were suspicious, Sarutobi, Danzo and others were also notified. Yes, that guy Rizu is really in a hurry, Danzo said with emotion as he passed by Ningchi on crutches, but the situation in Konoha is not right now, and we really can't mobilize too many people to help him. Helpful. When he said this, Danzo had a smile on his face. He was the key pusher among Konoha's top leaders who advocated the destruction of the Uchiha clan. He had also coveted the Sharingan for a long time. Naturally, it was impossible to destroy the original Uchiha clan under such circumstances. The root members of the Uchiha clan were transferred to the Hyuga clan to monitor them. This is a disaster for your Hyuga clan. You have to take care of yourself. It would be best if the murderer can be caught to prove your innocence. If not, it doesn't matter. After all, you are just a Hyuga clan member. There was a trace of ridicule in the corner of Danzang's mouth. Ningchi's status as a branch determined that his upper limit was there. Just like no master would allow a slave to stand higher than himself, Ningchi, who was restrained by the caged bird's curse seal, was destined to only can become a chess piece for others to manipulate. The original intention of the caged bird curse seal of the Hyuga branch was to protect the Byakugan's bloodline from leaking out. It artificially turned the Hyuga clan into a clan and a branch, with different responsibilities. Among them, once the branch member who was planted with the caged bird dies, the Byakugan will be destroyed by the caged bird seal. The enemy cannot obtain the Byakugan from the branch member, and naturally has no intention to hunt the branch member anymore. If he wants to get the power of the Byakugan, he could only focus on the members of the Hyuga clan. The caged bird system actually protected some members of the Hyuga branch from disaster, but on the other hand, it also turned the Hyuga branch into a subordinate of the clan. The so-called spears and shields are the servants of the clan who can be squeezed at will. The mansion of the head of the Hyuga family is full of maids and guards served by members of the branch family, and some young masters and ladies of the clan are also surrounded by many who can sacrifice their lives for the clan at critical moments, of servants. This is a perfect system with the purpose of protecting the blood inheritance of the Hyuga clan. Of course, this system also has less obvious limitations. That is, the party that is planted with a caged bird will inevitably become increasingly dissatisfied as a victim of the group's interests. If the Hyuga clan has always been dominated by the strong master and the weak servant, that would be fine, but if the clan is weakened and a character really appears in the branch family, such as Ningchi in front of him, then he will not be willing to be controlled by the caged bird, and anything he does will be as you can imagine. In Danzo's view, if the disappearance or killing of the Hyuga clan members was really caused by Ningchi, then the motive could only be that he was dissatisfied with the caged bird curse mark on his forehead. The missing Hyuga clan members were probably just caught in a corner. It's just an experiment. Danzo is familiar with it due to his experience working with Orochimaru. This is not something too critical. Rather, if Ningchi can really get rid of the caged bird, it will be a good thing for Danzo. As long as there is no restraint from the caged bird, all the Hyuga branch families will become his experimental subjects, not just the Sharingan. Danzo may not be able to try to seize the power of the Byakugan. Back off. Danzo was not interested in talking anymore. Although the Byakugan was good, the focus now was not on Hinata, but on Uchiha. No matter what the truth was about the disappearance of members of the Hyuga clan branch family, he was not very concerned. But Ningchi made no move. Danzo saw his hesitation, paused and asked, "Is there anything else you can do?" Ning-chi pursed his lips and said. Takizawa Yamaki, who was responsible for investigating the disappearance of Hyuga Tokuma and others, is dead. Danzo was extremely surprised. He now really believed that the disappearance of a branch of the Hyuga clan was indeed not the work of Ning-chi. This is too arrogant. Takizawa Yamaki was not very strong, and the third generation did not really expect him to find out anything when he was sent here. However, even though he was such a harmless candidate, the mastermind behind the scenes still killed him. What's this? This is Honguguo's provocation. How did you die? Danzo asked, but in fact he was extremely angry. The more trouble happened to the Hyuga clan, the more conservative Sarutobi would be about how to deal with the Uchiha clan's troubles. If Uchiha is not exterminated, where will he find so many Sharingans? Ning-chi took a breath and explained first. Died from a stab wound and a blow to the head. Do you know who did it? Noticing Danzang's ugly expression, Ning-chi felt that he might have entered into a misunderstanding and reminded him softly. It could be the Uchiha clan. It could be the Uchiha clan. Ning-chi said. Now that the schedule for the annihilation of the Hyuga clan has been arranged, it is certainly in Ning-chi's interests that the chaos on the scene be more chaotic. In the original work, Itachi was able to easily annihilate the Uchiha clan because behind him stood many Konoha ninjas who were ordered to turn a blind eye, and a father named Uchiha Fugaku who was willing to kill his son. Ning-chi was different. He wanted to imitate Itachi's actions and exterminate the Hyuga clan. Firstly, the top management of Konoha would not agree. Secondly, the Hyuga clan was not willing to commit suicide. The humanistic environment was completely different. But there is no way. The promotion of Byakugan requires a large amount of Byakugan essence. Unless Ning-chi is willing to accept more than 10 years to slowly figure it out, the rapid promotion of Byakugan will inevitably be accompanied by the voluntary sacrifice of the same race. In any case, the scene of singing and dancing in the family head's mansion disguised by the art of Naraku will always end. No one is a fool. It's just that the rebellion of the Uchiha clan has involved too much energy of the top management of Konoha, and several branch families. The disappearance of members has never been enough. I'll let Naoli pass, Danzo said, the implication being that you don't have to worry about what happens next. The two prides of Konoha are unparalleled in their magnificence. Without a plan, or even much attention, it would be impossible to organize a powerful pursuit team. Ning-chi would have more time to seize more benefits and then calmly escape from the vortex of Konoha. At 8:41, a fight broke out on Konoha Street. Uchiha Yashura of the police force stepped in to stop the dispute. He deserves death. I think so. What's wrong? At 8:50, Uchiha Tetsu and Uchiha Shin returned to their clan together after being hungover. Ning-chi looked through the thick surveillance content sent from various places today, and wrote down everything that involved the Uchiha clan, no matter how big or small it was, which shows how much Konoha attaches great importance to the Uchiha clan recently. Captain, another batch has been sent. The subordinate code-named Firefly brought in a bunch of raw materials that members from all over the place had just recorded and needed to be processed urgently. Ning-chi annotated the information on the desk, putting the potentially useful information on one side and the definitely useless information on the other side. As for how to judge whether the information is useful or not, it all depends on Ning-chi's personal vision. To be honest, this is a pretty boring job. During the day, you basically squat on a tree outside the Uchiha residential area, tracking and recording the Uchiha members who come in and out. Apart from being careful not to be discovered by them, there is no technical difficulty in itself. What needs to be done now is to determine the time when the night of the Uchiha genocide occurred. The premise of this is that the top management of Konoha has reached a consensus on genocide, allowing the Hawks headed by Danzo to completely overwhelm the three generations. Dovish forces. This is what intelligence work is like, picking out the truly valuable information from all kinds of tedious and messy information. Ning-chi naturally has no shortage of this since he has taken the position of squad leader. A talent that can find gold in the sand. Then I will resign. After achieving his goal, Ning-chi bowed and left. This is a very common piece of information that can be directly classified as useless, but combined with Hotaru's previous question, what she means obviously has nothing to do with the intelligence value. Well, let's leave it there, Ning-chi said casually. The third generation will give in, this is inevitable, and what Ningchi has to do is just to use the death of Takizawa Yamaki to speed things up a little. At 8:11, Uchiha Suzuka and others returned to the clan territory carrying baskets of fresh ingredients. This kind of thing will inevitably be suspected by Danzo as having ulterior motives. Although he is very happy to frame Uchiha through such despicable means to promote the progress of the genocide incident, he does not want to be used by his subordinates without knowing anything. I am full of evil. In any case, this is the massacre of the two family. I am the devil and he is the executioner. On the surface, if Itachi destroys Uchiha, Konoha will definitely deploy a large number of manpower to fight Itachi to prevent the unrest from spreading further. That power, secretly, if Ningchi destroys Hinata, no one will know that the clan meeting of the Hyuga clan organized by the clan leader turns out to be a clan genocide meeting. At 7:05, Uchiha Suzuya and 7 others left the Uchiha clan together. In the eastern dense forest, Ningchi said. Ying handed the information to Ningchi. So, where is the body? Ying did as she was told, and was about to leave, but she seemed to notice some information on the desk. She paused, hesitated for a while and couldn't help but ask. Captain, Uchiha, can he really rebel? Danzo's only exposed eye looked at Ningchi coldly for a long time, then nodded slightly and asked. There was a lot of accumulated information, but Ningchi's efficiency was faster, so fast that the subordinates nearby were in a hurry. Since he has chosen this path, sooner or later, Ningchi will imprison the clan leader and the murder of his fellow clan members will be exposed. Instead of waiting for the balloon to explode suddenly and being caught off guard, it is better to choose the right time to pop it proactively. Ningchi didn't know the answer to the question, so he didn't speak anymore. Someone would bear the sin himself, and there was no need for others to contaminate it. Ying was a little worried. Strength. Ningchi's enthusiasm for destroying Uchiha is worrying. Especially Ningchi, who is controlled by the caged bird, cannot be regarded as a confidant by Danzo. The seeds of doubt have been planted. Ningchi knows this clearly, but it doesn't matter. Ningchi will not stay in Konoha for long, and there will be no chance that Danzo's subsequent liquidation will fall on him. What's more, Ningchi also has his own sins to bear, and he is not much nobler than that person. Although there has been concrete news that the Uchiha high-level officials have plotted coups within the clan many times, the information recorded in the surveillance content does not show any abnormality among the members of the Uchiha clan. At 8:15, Uchiha Sasuke, Sui and other 11 children left the Uchiha clan and went to the ninja school. Once the Uchiha clan rebellion fails, it is self-evident what these seeds of hatred will go through. Ningchi didn't care. It was impossible to tell all the clansmen what the upper echelons of the Uchiha clan were plotting. There were also ordinary people in the Uchiha clan, and there were also opponents within them. They didn't know that the land under their feet was already filled with undercurrents and murderous intentions. They are ignorant, and continue the inertia of life for 10 years, until death comes, they are still ignorant. This is the life of the ordinary people. Except for a few senior Konoha officials, only the Anbu who were directly responsible for Uchiha affairs knew the news that Uchiha was plotting a rebellion. For strength, the mission of Ningchi's root team is to monitor the Uchiha clan. Fortunately, Ningchi is the team leader, so he doesn't need to work so hard. He only needs to sit in the center and compile the intelligence sent by the monitoring members in the team. These are all normal things. Hotaru shook her head. She had the qualities necessary to become an Anbu. Drawing a knife on a child was nothing. She was used to giving orders much higher priority than her personal emotions. I just feel, why is this happening? Today, half of the members of the Hyuga clan have been brutally murdered by Ningchi. The remaining half will not have much resistance if Ningchi is prepared. The only thing that needs to be thought about is how to get out of the woods when the news is exposed. Yi escaped from the hands of the chasing troops. For the sake of the greater good. The night of the genocide was perfect timing. As for the problem of how to create enough scars on the corpse to frame Uchiha, there are capable people at the root who can solve it. Ningchi pursed her lips and asked. Can't bear it. At 7:40, Uchiha Ichigo and Uchiha Luffy had an argument at the gate of the clan. It was suspected that the latter had snatched the former's girlfriend. I don't think I was wrong, and I think he won't regret it either. These are the two prides of Konoha. In the evening, Ning-Chi returned to the tribe after changing shifts with another route team. Before he could even go upstairs, he was dragged over by Mianfu Granny, who owned a pancake shop next door and was also part of Hinata's family. "Xiao Ning-Chi, did you read the announcement that the clan leader is convening a clan meeting?" she said excitedly. Just like the Uchiha clan also has ordinary people who can't open their eyes, the Hyuga clan's Byakugan is not as difficult to open as the Sharingan, but there is a certain threshold, and not everyone can open it at will. Just like the mother-in-law in front of me, although she has the blood of the Hyuga clan, she is really just an ordinary person who cannot even sense chakra. Her son successfully opened the Byakugan and became a ninja, but until now, he is nearly 30 years old but he is still just an ordinary genin. Ning-Chi is already preparing to nominate Jonin this year. This is the weight of talent in this cruel ninja world. The two brothers have been relying on each other for a long time and have already established an extremely deep relationship. Well, at least for Ning-Chi, he never thought that Ning-Chi might suddenly rebel, and just asked. At the dinner table, Nechi was still instructing Hanabi's soft fist posture, until Ning-Chi couldn't stand it any longer, then he gave up in frustration. Neji, Ning-Chi and others regard the caged bird as a stubborn disease, but to these ordinary branch family members, it is a symbol of the noble Hyuga clan identity that does not need to be concealed. Soft fist is not what you use. Oh, how many times have I told you to move with your footsteps? That was a whole clan meeting. Does that mean that all of us can participate? Granny Mianfu was very excited, and the green curse marks on her forehead were squeezed into lines one by the accumulated wrinkles. Tokuma is gone, and Xiaoyu is gone too. Everyone in the recently separated family is worried about something happening to the clan. "Xiao Ning-Chi, you must take care of yourself," Granny Mianfu said, holding Ning-Chi's hand. "I saw you put your hands on your legs again. Still disgusted? In a few days you won't have a chance to listen." Ning-Chi snorted disdainfully. "It's more important to take good care of your mother," Ning-Chi said. "You don't need to teach me this. I'm not just my mother's son, I'm also a member of the Hinata branch family. You have no authority, you can't order me," Chengfu said angrily. "You don't want to go on the day of the clan meeting?" "Yes, the posture is good, just like this, come on, hit me." Speaking of which, in Ning-Chi's eyes, Ning-Chi is just a little kid. Although he won't be implicated after he betrays Konoha, his situation will definitely be quite embarrassing. At most, he will be better than Naruto, who everyone hates. Listening to Neji's angry roar and Hanabi's constant apologetic crying coming from the room, Ning-Chi raised his eyebrows and did not disturb them. He just started to make dinner on his own and did not knock on it until the dinner was ready 20 minutes later. Door. Ning-Chi didn't say anything anymore. He was inexperienced in making announcements for the first time, so he just went to catch them all. He didn't expect that there are such a group of dark-eyed people in the Hyuga clan. He planned to go back and borrow Rizu's account to issue another patch. When the clan meeting is held, Ning-Chi said nothing. But there are so many ordinary people who can't squeeze out the essence of Byakugan. "I saw it, what's wrong?" "Probably not. The main content of this clan meeting is to discuss how to deal with the foreign enemies that have been attacking our Hyuga branch recently." "What kind of fist is this?" "It's weak." The flying pigeon notice issued by the mansion of the head of the Hyuga clan was rewritten and posted on the bulletin board. Ning-Chi had noticed it on the way here. The announcement issued by the leader of the Hyuga clan now makes them, a group of ordinary people who usually have no sense of existence at all, happy. The whole clan meeting, doesn't that mean that all members of the Hyuga clan can participate? Chengfu was stunned for a moment. The awkward expression on his face slowly disappeared, and he asked bravely. "You should know when you should do something." Hanabi lowered her head sadly after chewing on a chicken drumstick. "Why?" After Mianfu's mother-in-law returned, Ning-Chi said to Chengfu. Hearing this, Hanabi raised her face and stared at Ning-Chi, with stars twinkling in her eyes. In fact, as the Hyuga clan has multiplied and its bloodline has been diluted for thousands of years, there are still a group of Hyuga clan members who have the ability to separate families with the cage bird imprint, but in fact they do not have to bear the so-called spear and shield, due to their weak strength. The responsibilities are ordinary people who are mainly responsible for taking care of the various public properties of the Hyuga clan, such as this Mianfu granny. Although they are not many in number, they do exist. Yes, it's a long-term mission. Ningchi put some food in Nechi's bowl. At that time, you will take care of Hanabi alone. Ningchi returned to his small attic. You want me to take care of my mother? I use you to say. I just went to a clan meeting, what could happen? Due to his qualifications, Chengfu was rarely summoned by the Zong family, so he cherished this opportunity very much. But it is true that even the gatekeepers of the clan's mansion need to be at least genin. No matter how eager ordinary people are, they don't think highly of them. During the usual Hyuga clan festivals, this group of ordinary Hyuga clan members who are not ninjas also you can't enter the ancestral temple, you can only watch it from a distance. Brother, you are preaching again. Neji shook his head repeatedly. Am I not from the Hinata family? The old man's dark eyes were bright. It's been a long time since I saw the true face of Lord Rizu, and I don't know whether he has gained weight or lost weight, and whether he has eaten well. Ningchi thought about the pancakes that her mother-in-law always brought to her family in the years after Hazashi's death. She pursed her lips and politely advised. Although the purity of his white eyes is very low, the mosquito legs are still meat no matter how small they are. After sending Granny Mianfu back to the pancake shop, her son Chengfu, who was still just a genin, stood at the door and bowed to Ningchi with some restraint. They support the tradition and the clan, and they respect the current patriarch, Hyuga Hazashi, like a father, because the blood of the Hyuga clan in their bodies has indeed brought them higher treatment and benefits than other ordinary people in Konoha village. That makes sense. Are you going on another mission? Ningchi shook his head and said, when you were 2 years old, you were still crawling behind me wearing crotchless pants. Hanabi's talent is very high, no worse than you, but she has just come into contact with Rufist. The caged bird system of the Hyuga clan establishes the difference between the branch family and the clan. Among them, the clan is the true successor of the Hyuga clan and is responsible for protecting and promoting the Hyuga clan, while the clan is the spear and shield in the hands of the clan, responsible for protecting the Hyuga clan. Zong family. When the time comes, it will be great to give him the glory he deserves as a member of the Hyuga clan. Okay, since the other party is so insistent, what else can Ningchi say? This world is, after all, a world where ordinary people make up the majority. She's too stupid, she can't even form the Rufist stance well. Neji said dissatisfied. Ningchi could only nod. Ningchi tapped his index finger on the table and thought for a moment. He stared at Ningki and suddenly asked, do you want to come with me? Do you want to come with me? No, Neji shook his head firmly, it's too much to ask for a few days off. The school teacher will be angry if I miss school for a long time. And brother, your mission must be very difficult. I haven't graduated from the ninja school yet. Not only will I not be able to help you, but it may even hinder you. Ningchi nodded thoughtfully, yes, so you have to become stronger quickly. Becoming stronger is not to help me, but to help yourself, otherwise you may not be able to withstand the malice from many people around you. Ningchi thought so. Of course, he, the culprit, would not look into the details of why the people around him turned towards Neji with their malicious intentions. When Nechi saw that Ningchi actually responded, he couldn't help but say, brother, are you actually joking? Even if I can help you, what kind of tasks will involve unrelated family members? Aren't you afraid that Hokage-sama will scold you for wasting ninja resources like this? It will never be known. Don't be too outrageous. Don't worry, my brother Ningki will definitely protect you. Ningchi stroked her back and said with a smile. Yes, I haven't been at home in the past few days. The smell of decay hit the face, and this place was getting more and more dilapidated. There were not many active servants controlled by Naraku here. Cleaning the flowers, plants and trees in the courtyard and maintaining the appearance of the Hyuga clan head's mansion were all exhausted. With so little manpower left, naturally they couldn't care less about how rotten and moldy the interior of the mansion was. Yes, I finally meet you, Miss Hinata. Do you want to come with me? Big things are coming up. I've been feeling restless lately, so I came to chat with you, Ningchi said casually. I've already posted the clan meeting notice. I'm afraid some people won't take it seriously, so I plan to send it out again tonight. Do you want to go? Neji asked again. That old boy from Rizu, even though his hand was broken, he was able to implant his white eyes into his daughter's eyes. Since my daughter's eyes can't see the illusion, let her see it with her own eyes. I have to say, it's very creative. Since Naraku's technique here will make the things in front of the subject change into how she thinks, things should be like this, the only variable that determines what the illusion is the subject herself. The choice to follow, does it really exist? Will he find out after he nods that it is just another mirror story created by Ningqi in a joking tone? Could it be that Ningqi accepted his brother's invitation with great expectations and embarked on a new stage of life, only to find that the gorgeous stage was just a trap disguised as a pond, while Ningqi stood on the shore and pointed at the deep mud? Neji, who was in a state of embarrassment, laughed out loud. This was perhaps the most likely thing to happen after Neji nodded. You will naturally understand later. The moon is round, there are many mosquitoes, the rice is delicious, and the fireworks are stupid. For Neji himself, who was the only one who could possibly know the outcome at this time, this was just an ordinary night among countless nights in the past, and just an ordinary day among countless upcoming futures. It's so abominable to speak ill of people behind their backs. Ningqi thought for a while, and then used the transformation technique to look like his younger brother Ningji. Now Hinata was finally not afraid anymore. After completely exploring the Naraku here, you can avoid being misled by illusions and walk directly out of this house full of lies. The leader of the Rizu clan has great prestige in the hearts of the clan members. Regardless of their status, the clan members, regardless of their status, may be confused after hearing this request, but they will unconditionally choose to obey it, just like an ignorant lamb going to the wolf den to look for the evil wolf under the order of the leader. This is the reality that makes Rizu particularly heartbroken. After eating, Ningqi came to the head of the family's mansion again with Wahuo. Hearing Ningqi's soft words, Hinata hesitated. She felt that the man in front of her was not a bad person, but she took 2 steps back, as if she was afraid that her actions would hurt Ningqi's sensitive heart. She spoke softly, explained. Ningqi was insulted by his brother, but he didn't care at all. He was picking up his own food. Wahuo, who had moved a small chair and sat next to him, looked at Ningqi with bright eyes. The sad part of the matter is that when the Hyuga clan members who came back from a mission to report on their work or came to visit him specifically saw him, no matter what he said, what he did, or how much noise he made, they all had only one meaning in their eyes. That is, go to Ningqi, and then come back with Ningqi. It was obviously only a little bit possible to use Hinata to reveal the plot of the big bad guy Ningqi to the world and save all the Hyuga clan members. What a pity. The Hyuga clan is not the only one who often comes to see the Hyuga clan leader. The visit of some outsiders is really unavoidable. Ningqi does not necessarily want to embarrass them. They will just leave as they came, although the clan leader cannot personally seeing guests off may be a bit rude to some distinguished guests, but it is not a big deal after all. Can the distinguished lady of the Zong family go on a mission with you? What kind of answer does my brother expect from me? Or is this just a boring joke left to my future self? Ningqi had done this countless times, so much so that when Ningxi recalled the incident, all the interactions between the two brothers were filled with traces of Ningqi's deliberate actions. Everyone has their own path in life to take. A huge white-eyed shadow hovered over the mansion, and it was as quiet and dense as usual. Several unnamed trees were planted on both sides of the courtyard, and several attendants were guarding the door. Even when Ningqi led Wahuo through the door, their faces remained expressionless, but their necks kept twisting with the pace of the two. Yeah, Hanabi nodded vigorously. This illusory world is operating according to an absurd logic, and Ningqi, who created it with one hand, suddenly felt a strange emotion. Good evening, Sister Yunpu, Sister Lian. Wahuo greeted everyone in a low voice, but her body unconsciously leaned towards Ningqi. What kind of mission did you take on? Do you have to abduct a child? In order to deal with these unmanageable characters, Ningqi did not gouge out Rizu's eyes, but just sealed his acupoints in order to achieve the maximum effect of concealing others' eyes and ears. There has been no mistakes so far. It seemed like a joke or a test. In short, this short conversation that Neji would think of countless times in the future was so easily skipped. Ahem. He made a deliberate sound, then opened the door and walked in. Then you'd better keep your promise. Perhaps out of guilt, Rizu lowered his head and closed his eyes. The problem is solved. That's not for you now. What would that look like? He walked forward slowly, squatted down and gently touched the girl's injured eye. The bandage did not block his white eyes at all. Ningqi could see the abnormality in Hinata's left eye with just one glance. Interestingly, in her opinion, does the fact that everyone hates her be a matter of course? Ningqi watched her white socks leave a line of small footprints in the dirt, and then came to a half-rotted corpse and knelt down. Mother, I'm sorry for making you worry. Hey, brother, are you serious? Seeing that he was actually thinking, Neji quickly reminded, don't forget who she is. Ningqi has determined that the little guy in front of him is about to get rid of the illusion of Naraku's technique, and it comes at the right time. In the future, Ningxi wanted to return to this night countless times, and imagined countless times what might happen after agreeing. Is there really such a possibility, such a life path? Ningqi inadvertently asked himself this question. When the time comes, just nod your head and it will happen exactly. As long as he nods, he can remove all the disguises on the other party and see the most real Ningqi. By the way, little Huahuo, come with me back to the clan's house tonight. Ningqi said casually. Master Patriarch, unfortunately, I saw through your little tricks. Wahuo didn't know that this answer actually represented rejection, and still looked at Ningqi expectantly. Are you brother Ningqi? Since everything is a hypothesis, you might as well be a little bolder. She placed the barrel on the ground, stretched out her hand hesitantly, and said in a very soft voice with an uncertain tone. Hanabi was still whispering to her mother. Ningqi picked up Hinata and walked away to the main hall where he was imprisoned. He is now very much looking forward to seeing the expression of our patriarch. All opinions were exchanged inadvertently. Ningqi smiled. Why do you ask so many questions after you have refused? Eat. Wahuo was a little hesitant. She was afraid of returning to the so-called home, but this was obviously not a question. She still nodded slightly under Ningqi's calm gaze. Therefore, unless Ningqi takes the lead in shaping the illusion, under the automatic operation mechanism of the Naraku technique, even Ningqi, the caster, does not know what Hanabi encountered in the illusion generated at this time. Until the cruel reality hit his head like a meteor a few days later, and all the perceptions and illusions about his brother were overturned, Neji did not realize that on this ordinary day at the ordinary dinner table, his entire life could be decided. The choice of direction had been thrown out by Ningqi as if it was nothing, and after being rejected, he quickly passed away with a joke. Of course, I will keep my promise. Ningqi nodded perfunctorily and waved to call Hinata in. He smiled coldly. But the premise is that you really fulfill your promise. What else are you doing here? Perhaps her left eye, which has recently been able to see clearly the illusion, has come into play. True and false, reality and illusion are superimposed between the left and right eyes. She has seen too many times the changing things under the shroud of Naraku's art here, so even if Ningqi transformed in front of her, she didn't feel anything was wrong. My brother is always like this, and you can't guess what he is thinking at all. Neji shook his head. Oh, I have also contacted the 3 clan elders who are out of town you told me about before. 2 of them wrote back and said that they will definitely arrive. One of them was delayed by something outside, but he also said that he would arrive as soon as possible. Father said you were a bad person. The girl was a little shy, but she still mustered up the courage to say, I will work hard to become stronger, and I will never hold you back. Hinata pursed her lips, as if she had finally met someone she could trust. All the grievances she had experienced these days burst out in an instant, and she poured into Ningqi's arms, sobbing softly. Your information is all correct. Ningqi nodded and looked at Rizu. Hanabi never knew why she appeared in Ningqi's room, and she never asked. However, the fact that Ningqi rescued her from the master's mansion has been confirmed by Ningqi, and from this, she trusts Ningqi very much. Ningqi's character has always been so bad. He likes to toy with everyone in the midst of applause, and likes to see the feeling of hope being shattered in the eyes of others. This is the only thing Ningqi's younger brother Ningqi has in this man full of lies and falsehoods after the incident. Impressions that can be recognized as true. He turned around thoughtfully and saw 7-year-old Hinata looking at him blankly in the courtyard not far away. She was wearing some shabby clothes. Her left eye seemed to be injured and was bandaged with a cloth. He stood up, and the wooden bucket in his hand was still slowly leaking water. Hinata seemed to have just returned from fetching water. Brother, you are so suspicious. Have no idea. There are actually countless blank spaces like this. Ningqi's tone was relaxed, and Neji naturally never took it seriously. Since, you will understand later, let's wait until, later, arrives. He was so indifferent that he left no trace, like a stone thrown into the lake. Only the short-lived ripples proved that there was indeed a moment when Neji felt that he was finally close to the most real Ningqi. It was him who indirectly killed so many clan members. The corpse in front of her was indeed Hanabi's biological mother. The fatal sword wound that penetrated her chest was given by Ningqi, but it had obviously been planted in the soil, so why was it dug out again now? Quote. Before going in, Ningqi asked Hinata to hide at the door. However, when that day really came, Nechi finally realized that he had never seen Ningqi clearly. Although the two of them got along day and night, there seemed to be a layer of fog between him. The moment in his life when Ningqi was closest to him, in fact, there is only one sentence from a few days before the incident. Do you want to come with me? The two eyes clearly reflected Neji's appearance, where truth and falsehood merged into one. This method is also very practical under the natural law of plug and play unique to the world of Naruto. Brother Neji, she was broken and unable to speak clearly. That's all. The girl's affection came out of nowhere. Those who didn't know it thought she and Ningqi had known each other for several months. Under Ningqi's suspicious eyes, Ningqi took a bite of chicken and pondered. Although Ningqi transformed into Ningji, Rizu immediately recognized the true face of the villain in front of him. No one has come to see me anymore. You have killed them all. Why are you here? Rizu's voice was a little sad. Wahuo seemed to be explaining to several attendants at the door. Although the other party actually had no response in Ningqi's opinion, this was a sign that his consciousness had faded to the final stage. If the clan meeting was not approaching, Ningqi would have to find some unlucky people to replace these guards, otherwise soon the family head's mansion will no longer be able to maintain even the superficial appearance of a famous family, and it will be easy for outsiders to see through. Hanabi lowered her head. Mother, have you been looking for me all this time? I'm sorry. But that's life. Both brothers looked at Hanabi in surprise. Brother, mother is still looking for me. She is very angry. Can you go with me? Wahuo grabbed Ningqi's sleeve and begged. Ningqi nodded obediently, and the two came to a dilapidated wing. At least in Ningqi's opinion, it was indeed dilapidated and dirty, but in Wahuo's eyes, it was necessary to take off shoes carefully to avoid getting dirty. A clean place for dirty floors. Ningqi couldn't help but feel sorry for Rizu's plan. Ningqi came back to his senses, frowned, and stopped chewing. No, I was wondering if there was too much salt in the chicken. The air felt a little quiet for a while. This isn't fair. But he didn't expect that Hazu's Byakugan, which he couldn't use himself, would be replaced by his daughter Hinata, and this hand could indeed help Hinata break through Naraku's illusion here. Several motionless attendants seemed to have turned into evil slaves who bullied their superiors and their subordinates in the world of fireworks. Ningqi observed this scene with interest. What, you want to come with me? Ningqi touched her head. It's a pity. I just had bad luck. Give something more. Although you seem to have nothing, but you are the top noble family in Konoha after all. What if my imagination is not rich enough? Squeeze again, squeeze out something, and see if you can try to buy your daughter's life again. Rizu does not lack the courage to sacrifice his life for charity, especially when Ningqi still needs him alive to deceive more Hyuga clan members. Without him as a key prisoner, Ningqi, who bears the seal of the caged bird, would hunt and kill even if he has the power of Naraku here. The efficiency will also be greatly reduced, and the risk of exposure will also be greatly increased. The plan of genocide like a snake swallowing an elephant will also become far-fetched. Therefore, even if Rizu wanted to die, Ningqi would not let him go. The hinge mechanism from the torture department did not leave room for the prisoner to commit suicide from the beginning. When the strong come, they can only drink hatred. However, the old Rizu guy doesn't care about his own life, but he doesn't care about the lives of others. Ever since he handed over information about several clan elders who were not in Konoha for his daughter Hinata, he no longer had the capital to continue to resist in front of Ning-chi. Step back, step by step, in the days when Ning-chi is about to betray Konoha, being squeezed clean by him with all his blood is the fate that the Hyuga clan leader will face. For example, right now, everyone knows that the exchange of eyes between him and his daughter Hinata is just a reason for Ning-chi to blackmail. Without this incident, there will be another incident, but Rizu just can't refute it. His spine has been burned. Interrupted, he could only let Ning-chi take whatever he wanted, so that he could be a little more merciful and show favor to his daughter Hinata. Hinata walked in with small steps, and buried her face directly in Ning-chi's arms, and then peeked through the gap at the sloppy man in front of the desk. Since something has to be done, of course it must be done. From now on, I will become a renegade ninja, and there is no doubt whether I can return to Konoha. Now that there were so many Byakugan essences right in front of him, he had to consider whether this would be his only chance in this life. Rizu looked directly at Ning-chi. This time he did not make any protest or say a harsh word, but simply chose to surrender. You knew I was collecting Byakugan, why didn't you hand it over earlier? Ning-chi gritted his teeth. If he hadn't just come back, wouldn't so much of the Byakugan essence have turned to dust underground? As soon as he thought of this, Ning-chi suddenly felt extremely happy. What to use? Whose life is it for? I know, don't worry. There are some psychic scrolls in the second secret room, which contain many ninja tools and emergency supplies. This should be the material reserve left by the Hyuga clan to the survivors when they face the crisis of genocide. After all, he is the blood of the clan, no matter how talented he is, there is no need to talk about revenge, he can live a peaceful life. There will always be a chance for the Hyuga clan to prosper again in the future. Rizu still has a lot of potential. If you don't push him, you really don't know where his limit is. The latter still looked confused. Rizu knew that his daughter was not having a good life in the family recently. No one cooked for her or bathed her. She was living a very miserable life. This was a disaster that the eldest lady who had lived in a fine life had never experienced before. She was as pure as a blank sheet of paper. Ning-chi said lazily, there are more than a dozen pairs. Your family head's lineage actually has such reserves. If I had known this earlier, why had I made such slow progress over the years? What is Brother Neji talking about? But it seems that the last effort of the clan leader to save the clan failed in an unexpected place. Ning-chi's eyes suddenly widened. She could clearly hear the real conversation between the two, and she could also feel that something was not right about some of the words. Rizu paused, glanced at Ning-chi meaningfully, and then said calmly. In the third dark room, there are more than a dozen pairs of white eyes passed down from the Hyuga ancestors. It's a pity that the ancestors of the Hyuga clan, who were prepared for the rainy day, never imagined that the biggest crisis of genocide would come from within the clan. I can let her go. Ning-chi touched Hinata's head. On the left wall of my study, there is a secret room. In order to prevent Bayan's exploration, the secret room needs to be channeled through seals. The order is Yin, Cho, Hai. There are 3 secret compartments in it, and there are a lot of gold and silver. Those things can be taken away. Since you want money to buy your life, I'll give it to you. She obviously couldn't match the graceful father in the fantasy with herself in reality. At this time, Rizu had been tortured to a terrible state by Ning-chi, and it was understandable that she didn't know him. Unlike the public property of the Hyuga clan such as shops and forests, the money in the secret room is obviously the private property of the family leader. In the future, Ning-chi will become a rebel ninja and walk in the ninja world. He will really need such a windfall. He cannot be shy, otherwise he will always rob families and homes. If your style is too low, you won't get far. The Byakugan of the Hyuga branch will be destroyed by the caged bird the moment the master dies. In other words, those Byakugan are all passed down from the family members who have passed away in the past generations. As soon as the thought of compassion arose, Ning-chi completely killed it. However, looking at his daughter nestling in his enemy's arms, he shook his head. After Hinata replaced one of her eyes and saw the illusion clearly, she ran away from him immediately. Don't you know him? Ning-chi really didn't react for a while. Yes. Ning-chi nodded lightly, indicating for him to continue. Ning-chi had a vague hunch that even if his eyes were promoted to the final stage, the essence of white eyes would still be of great use. Ning-chi thought for a while. A dozen pairs of the clan's high-purity Byakugan, even if the wear and tear of vitality caused by being sealed for too long, should be able to provide him with at least half of the progress of the Byakugan essence. Next week's genocide operation may indeed be unnecessary. Really wipe out all the remaining Hyuga clan members. No, Hinata, the eldest lady of the clan, has no talent or talent after all. These things are not enough to buy her life. After a long silence, Hazu sighed. Perhaps because of this, her spirituality in this illusion lasted longer than others, which is why Hazu chose his daughter Hinata instead of Hinata Natsu and other people. Rizu watched Hinata pounce on Ning-chi, the culprit of all this, and felt extremely miserable. My father did sit there before and told me a lot of things, asking me to endure the pain. I endured it, and then my father disappeared. Hinata didn't say any more, but the meaning was already there. It's clear. Hinata in her arms showed hesitation for the first time. Moreover, if you can't recognize yourself, then you can't recognize it clearly. Before she changed eyes, she told Hinata that even if she couldn't get out of the illusion, she would dig up her mother's body and throw it in a conspicuous place in the courtyard. Listen clearly. Just fine. Well, I don't know what you plan to do by collecting so many Byakugan, but the news I'm telling you now will help you kill a few less people. Rizu said, with a hint of pleading in his eyes. Rizu nodded, and this answer was not beyond his expectations. Insatiable, this is the Ning-chi he has known these days. So, are you going to take away my eyes too today? Rizu asked. Certainly. With the risk of being almost exposed tonight, it is naturally impossible to keep Rizu's eyes in this family head's mansion. Ning-chi nodded and was about to take action. If you want to do something, can you let me do it? Rizu shook the hinges on his body and said while looking at Hinata in Ning-chi's arms, who didn't know the danger was approaching. Ah! Rizu handed the removed eyes to Ning-chi with his arm, while the other arm suppressed Hinata, who was struggling on the table. You. After Ning-chi took over the eye, the chakra from the palm of the hand shot out again, like a thread, and dug out the left eye that originally belonged to Hinata in his eye socket, then returned it to its original owner, and pressed it into the horrified Hinata's left eye frame. Hinata didn't feel the slightest malice from the man's gentle words, and Hinata, come here. Since all the laws of operation in the world are invisible to us, what we should do most is not to describe the present. No matter how much I don't want to admit it, your bloodline will not lie. You are Hazashi's biological son, and you are a member of my Hyuga clan. Even if you become a rebellious nin, you are still a rebellious nin who came from my Hyuga clan. I will never allow you to ruin the reputation of my Hyuga clan. Hazu said. I don't care which one of us succeeds by then, but the true inheritance of the Hyuga clan must still be passed on, so Ning-chi, listen carefully. Rizu's voice became serious. Rizu has indeed figured it out, as he just said, although people die, the Tao is passed down. You suddenly became enlightened. Ning-chi smiled lightly. The pain that his daughter Hinata has suffered so far is also because of his incompetence as a father. Although she had been hurt once by the sloppy man in front of her, Hinata was very obedient and kind. She raised her head, looked at the man, and then at Ning-chi. Ning-chi crossed his arms. He wanted to hear what the defeated patriarch had to say. If the clan inherits the legacy, how can it be passed on if there are no survivors? This world can be without the clan, but there must be Hinata. He said. The next moment, the blue light flashed away. Then he waved to his daughter, and his severed palm was floating in the air as soft as a bone. Poof. This is why Ning-chi can't just take the eyes, but also has to kill people. This is the right eye. After being imprisoned for so long, he has already understood the operating rules of Naraku's art here. Whenever he thinks that he has stumbled on such a flawed art and ruined the entire family, he is particularly annoyed, so he can't criticize it. No need to be polite. Rizu said that after doing everything he could and getting rid of all the burdens of responsibility, he felt that the hinges on his body had become lighter. Come over. Ning-chi shrugged, not optimistic about the actual effect of Rizu's actions. She had too many questions that she wanted to ask. Why the house has become so messy. Yes, come closer and I'll tell you. Rizu was like the evil wolf that bewitched Little Red Riding Hood. How can the hatred of genocide and family destruction be transferred so easily? Even his younger brother Neji will definitely hate him to the core because of Ningqi's actions, let alone Hinata, the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan. But to summarize the future, Hazu wants to preserve the inheritance of the Hyuga clan, and wants to make these descendants who were promised to survive temporarily forget their hatred, which is a little too scornful of themselves. Ningqi did not continue chatting on this topic, but just stared at Rizu's palm, from where he sprayed chakra threads just now. Ningqi shook his head. No matter how gentle and submissive Hinata's character is, experiencing such a drastic change in the family will inevitably lead to a drastic change in personality, not to mention Hinata's talent is actually not ordinary. He still had things to do. Your genjutsu has fatal flaws and won't last long. How can it be compared with my Hyuga family's soft fist? You know this very well, Hazu said. Don't you want to know where I changed your father? The girl was pushed down on the desk and was in agony. He had long regarded Rizu's eyes as his own. Things can't be hidden. She will definitely blame me for everything in the future, and she will hate you and me together, although it is true that I am the culprit who caused her so much pain, but when the time comes, she will. If you seek revenge from me, I won't hold back. Looking at Hinata who was in pain on the ground, Ningqi shook her head. If Nizu hadn't been so clever, she wouldn't have had to suffer such pain. The responsibility rested entirely with Japan. Hazu is not dead yet, there is still some activity in the Byakugan, and it is temporarily difficult to absorb the essence of the Byakugan. He said. Ningqi took out the small culture container he carried with him from his arms and put the two eyes belonging to Rizu into it. Ningqi couldn't agree. He looked up at the sky. It was this skill that you judged as useless, the Nai Luo technique here, which turned everyone in your clan into my Ningqi's hunting ground. Are you wondering how I can still use chakra even though you have sealed my acupuncture points? As if feeling Ningqi's gaze, Rizu tilted his head and said. She really wanted to know where her father had gone. Thump, do you really know where my father went? Hinata asked softly. I really have figured it out. The caged bird system should have been abolished long ago, otherwise why would we have suffered today's disaster? Rizu sighed, but unfortunately it was too late to realize this. In order to let Hinata see the illusion clearly, Rizu's left eye was exchanged with Hinata's. Now that Ningqi wants to take Rizu's eye, all he has to do now is to change it back. Ningqi doesn't care what kind of reputation others give to his act of genocide, although this is indeed an internal struggle of the Hyuga family to a certain extent. Hazu released his grip on Hinata's arms and let her roll to the ground. After losing his eyes, his world was filled with nothingness, so there was no need for him to feel so miserable when he saw his daughter in pain. She looked at the chains wrapped around the other person's body, hesitated for a moment, and then slowly moved closer. Anyway, you have already planned this, and it is impossible for anyone to stop you. I will pretend that you are a reformist within our decadent family who advocates the abolition of the caged bird system. The purpose of launching changes during the clan meeting is just in order to create a Hyuga clan without the oppression of caged birds. Blood surged. All the hardships the Hyuga clan will face in the future will be because he, the clan leader, is too weak. You must have never studied Rukwon seriously, nor have you really made use of your eyes, Hazu said decisively. You are very talented, but you have wasted your talent on other useless skills. Obviously Hinata, the inheritance of family, is the strongest. Ningqi's brows gradually wrinkled. Does this old boy seem to be serious? I'm sorry, daughter. Hazu said sorry. Take off the transformation technique, then take Hinata to bandage it and I'll tell you. He slowly stretched out his hand, just as Hinata felt some strange yet familiar emotion from the man in front of her. Ningqi blinked and understood what Rizu meant. Seeing a dozen pairs of blank eyes, he nodded slightly. No problem, as long as you don't break my eyes. This is the left eye. Even so, it's better than her hating you for the rest of her life. Rizu said calmly. With no expression on his face, he followed the same pattern and took out his only remaining eye by firing chakra from his palm. Ningqi knew that this was also part of Hazu's attempt to ease Hinata's hatred for him. You are so cruel, Ningqi said. You are not afraid that she will hate you forever. If you can transfer a little bit, you can count a little bit. I tell you. Wondering why my mother died. As if he had forgotten that the boy in front of him was the enemy who was about to destroy the entire Hyuga clan, Hazu recounted his views on the inheritance of the Hyuga family very calmly. A father who was about to die was just wasting his efforts here, so Ningqi agreed indifferently. Looking back at Ningqi, seeing that he had no reaction, Hinata mustered up the courage and stepped forward. After the last hope was dashed, the Japanese football team has become particularly cooperative. He nodded, indicating that he would be careful. He was already heartbroken, but he couldn't die yet. Although the current Ningqi can be regarded as a heinous criminal, his son and grandson will always return to the Hyuga inheritance and even establish a new Hyuga family. Furthermore, Hinata has a softer personality and average talent. She probably has little chance of seeking revenge against you. Hinata's left eye, which was wrapped in cloth, had been easily removed by Hazu. The limit of blood inheritance, the Byakugan, is often the biggest advantage of our Hyuga clan when fighting against enemies. The so-called seeing through the flow of chakras meridians in the human body, or seeing through all obstacles to see the hidden enemy, is just the most superficial aspect of the Byakugan. Use. The running water does not compete for the first place, but the continuous flow. On the scale of family inheritance, which measures thousands of years, similar crises will occur every few hundred years. After 100 years, Ningqi's behavior will be nothing more than a line of small words on the wall of the ancestral temple. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.